along the way, but welcome to We the Parents PA. And actually, my first family has joined me already, so I am going to go ahead and skip my opening thoughts and come back to them as time. Yeah, when we need time. I thought they were here. Okay, so back to those opening thoughts while they circle back around. Welcome, everybody. This is not a political rally or polished political rally. This is a grassroots parent engagement moment. Let me say that again. This is grassroots. This is parents. There's no money been spent on this, minus me refiring the old broadcasting program here just to host this event. I want to thank everybody for took the time to join us live, or is joining us live through the course of this afternoon. It's Memorial Day, so we stop and reflect upon that as well. I did that quite a bit this morning. We're here to hear stories, support families, remind Harrisburg that parents are paying attention during budget season. And also, I think we're going to hear from a student, and we're just going to keep having these conversations for this evening. And for those of you who sent me the message, well, Jim, it is Memorial Day, I've got plans with this, that, and the other, that's perfectly fine, because this is just a test run. This is a proof of concept. This will happen again. And for those of you who were looking forward to last week, none of you more than me, I first must apologize, because I could not talk without coughing, and I lost my voice after about 10 minutes of talking, which isn't good when you're trying to do a 4-hour hit. So I don't think anybody wanted to listen to me cough and hack and try to drink, which would cause other problems down the road if I can't, for 4 hours. So all that. Let's take some more. I do have some notes. I said it's not scripted, but I do have some notes because during last Monday, I did take the time to allow myself to develop some of these talking points. That way I wasn't sitting here stumbling around, not wasting your time. So that's why we're here. Back to the parents and budget season. This is budget season. Today, May 25th, 2026. It's here, right? The House and the Senate will be back next week. And by the time you hear there's a deal on the table, you're late. Okay? You're late. That's why we're pushing right now. Well, those conversations are happening in those back rooms, restaurants, out somewhere at a golf course or pickleball or wherever in the world they may be happening. We got to be ready, so we got to apply pressure now before it gets too late. Often, the last few years, we've tried to apply pressure too late. I know, I've been part of it. I realized that, and part of the problem was just making sure that I was ready this year to apply pressure sooner than later, and here we are, ready to apply pressure. The wrinkle was it's a primary year, and it's also an election year. So last Monday was supposed to be the show before the primaries, right? So we could hold those leaders accountable who are in primary races. Didn't make that, but now we're focused on budget in November. But first, budget. Because, folks, you can't wait this one out. This budget is maybe the most important one. I know you guys have heard all this rhetoric for the last, well, goodness, I've heard it since 2019, okay? I've been hearing it. It's been a vicious cycle. And the problem was, nobody ever takes it seriously. Just a little bit here, a little bit there. Maybe this, that, and the other. Well, it's not this, that, and the other. These are our kids. These are our families. These are our communities being impacted. When our communities are impacted, our counties are impacted. And when our counties are impacted, our state is impacted. We need to make sure that our voices are being heard, hence the format tonight. There was no gatekeeping. If you signed up, you got an email with the link. I didn't review anybody. I didn't weasel anybody out. There it was. It was public. Just like them going forward. So I know there are some people out there, I won't name names, but I've heard the whispers that don't want me out here. Don't want me giving the parents a voice. Okay? Why is that? Why does somebody, we'll just use somebody, we'll use one in particular, right? But it speaks for a collective, because if there's one, there's more. Why does somebody not want me engaging parents? Well, there's a number of places it could be, because it cuts into their leverage, right? Because if they have to have meetings with 5 parents instead of one person, yeah, you see what I'm saying? And also, if parents are more engaged and more successful than one person, cuts into their business again. And I'm using the word business very intentionally here. I know, I shouldn't be, right? I should be being nice. But I'm not. Why? Because I don't have to be. I don't have to be nice to these people. They're not parents. They don't impact my kids. My kid. I'm going to say kids a lot tonight because my one just graduated last May or June, whenever that was. So I've been through this with both of them, right? So that's the important thing to realize, that this is directly impacting my family, my life. I think I should thank the folks that pushed me, gave me the original push into this, and told me to look into it and see what I could do. Because had I not got that original push, I'd probably be seeing somebody else make these posts. Or maybe not. Maybe nobody would. Maybe nobody would have took the bull by the horns and tried to do something different, to do something bold and creative. Maybe not. But here we are. Okay. Well, this event is primarily focused on public cyber charter families, because so far often the other side, the side that wants to discredit public cyber charters, wants to make it seem like they're a business or a private school or something that is unneeded. So we got to be intentional about how we frame this conversation and how we message going forward. I know I intentionally have been paying more and more attention to it, just to plant that in people's minds. Because far too often, I'm sure you've all seen it on Facebook and other places online, people want to discount this as some sort of business or sham or money-raising scheme or secret or private, or they've heard about this in other states, but so it applies to Pennsylvania without having any clue. I love pushing back on people who can't show you what they mean. They just make a bold statement and go with it because it's fact, because they heard it somewhere. They can't back it up. They definitely don't like me showing them the law that says charter schools in Pennsylvania are non-profit agencies. They definitely don't like that. They don't like seeing that part of the school code because they don't think that cybers and charters and districts and all are held to the same standards. Well, there are differences. If you want to hold them to the same standard, hold them to the same standard. But that goes both ways. Right? We have to realize that it's going to be a big ball of wax, and you have to be careful what you wish for. So, I kind of already addressed this, but I'm going to bring it back around to that. This is me in my office, bedroom, guest room, bedroom upstairs. Flag behind me flew over the Pennsylvania state capitol. The U.S. flag here flew over the U.S. capitol. Both on days that I was present at the Pennsylvania capitol and U.S. capitol. Guess I should do this way, right? There we go. I got the opportunity to go to D.C. with the National Parents Union a couple years ago, and parents' voices were heard that day, and it caused a disruption. Hence why I'm trying to bring that method back to Pennsylvania and cause a disruption. It's a lot harder when you don't have the bankroll to do it, but slowly but surely, I'm finding innovative ways to create the tension that I'm looking for. It's fair, right? We need that engagement. We need to show lawmakers that... There are more than special interest groups and PACs donating to campaigns. There are more decisions than spreadsheets, budget sheets, same difference. It's just not numbers. It impacts humans. It impacts our kids. It could impact their kids. But that's more for a different slide that I have for later in my mind. So we're not going to go too far into that, but we just want to make sure that we address that at some point. But we will circle back to it here. Yeah, hey, so if you're watching live right now, I don't have a live number. I'm not actually looking because I don't want to look. If you're watching live or watching the recording or whatever it may be, first thing I need you to do right now is tell me where you're coming from. You don't have to give me the exact town. You could say, I'm from northwestern Pennsylvania. I'm from Venango County. Either way, if you're not from Pennsylvania, tell us where you're at, because and tell us what your school choice model is like in that state, because there are 50 states and 50 different models, and it's interesting to learn because none of them are apples to apples. So, and here's the final thought for this before I get into the next wave of stuff. We're here tonight to have a respectful and honest conversation. I may disagree with some people. I don't think I have anybody scheduled that I'm going to disagree with, but we're going to keep this in mind. But the bottom line at the end of the day, our kids are first. Our kids are first. Now, do we always have to agree how do we get there? No, we don't have to agree how we get there. But as long as we don't lose that backdrop of seeing our kids first, I think we can do great things. But far too often, the conversation gets impacted by folks who have hidden agendas, if you will, and maybe not even hidden agendas, which is even worse. But they keep them hidden, right? But many of us who pay attention can see right through them. It's politics, right? Everybody thinks it's a game, a sport, back and forth, and good guys and bad guys, and no. We got to get rid of this two-party system in our minds. We need to make the government work for us how we want it to work for us. And that's not a party issue. That is an elected official issue, and holding them accountable. Agree with them 100% of the time, disagree with them 100% of the time. We need to take them off the pedestal, sit down in front of them and tell them why it is working for you. And for those of you who think I'm going to say the one side, and if it's not working for you, why it's not working for you. Or why it didn't work for you. Part of that is why we're here tonight, to address why it didn't work for you. Far too often, I know, right? I'm getting crazy here. I have talked to teachers, administrators, school board members, who complain about the public cyber charter problem without failing to address the root issue. What's the root issue? How can you say they don't address the root issue? I'm going to tell you why they don't address the root issue. It's really simple. They never take the time to understand why the families are leaving. What does that school offer they don't? How they could get better. They just want to slam, undercut, undermine, straight out humiliate students for leaving. It's facts. Watch it. Look at it. They spend more time and energy saying, you got to do this, you've got to do that, you got to report attendance, you got to do this and do that, instead of saying, how can we make our relationship better? And they don't. They don't want to make that bridge, because they know there are systemic problems in school districts across the Commonwealth. I guarantee you, if you asked 10 parents at every school district, they would reveal it. If it's bullying, if it's nepotism, hiring from within, if it's keeping people that shouldn't be kept, if it's football players always get passed, if it's, there are probably as many of them as there are school districts, there are probably problems. But if nobody talks about it, it never gets better. And that is why I'm here tonight, to start to pull that onion back from one perspective and say, hey, we need to talk about this, this, and this. And I'm sure somebody out there, me, will clip these up, these beautiful little bits, like this first 20 minutes here, and address that. And then we'll put another clip out with that next 10 and the next 10. And we'll have the conversation all summer long based off this 1 4-hour conversation tonight. So if you're not watching live, you'll be watching. You'll be seeing it. And hey, yes, next point was tag another parent or ask me questions, because like I said, I've got blocks of time here where I'm going to fill with some things that I wrote out, bullet points that I wanted to address under a topic so I could keep myself kind of in order, because I know that I could get on here and ramble and repeat myself many, many different times, which is not the point of this, right? We also have to remember there are people out there who work for your schools, who are lobbyists, who are this, that, and the other, whose job it is to fight the budget numbers and the this, that, and the other. But as parents, I know I put out a lot of numbers. I'm kind of in that gray area. I know way too much, right? But at the end of the day, when I go to an office or pick up the phone, and call somebody or tweet somebody or Facebook message or whatever it may be, email. I do a lot of email. A lot. It's about, first you lead with the story, my kid's story. It may be just a couple sentences off the top, a couple sentences down below about asking for time for like tonight or whatever it may be. But Jim, what do I say? Oh boy, I have a list of these, but I didn't even bring that into this conversation. I'm going to make another video about it in the future. What do you say? Why you love your school, how well your kids are doing, something they get to experience that their classmates in the brick and mortar or wherever it may be don't get to experience. And the list just goes on and on. It doesn't have to be great. Matter of fact, some of the best emails that I've got replies to from lawmakers have been almost tweets, right? Very Pam, because it makes it hard for them to read that, right? And then put it away. It becomes a problem. So send that message. Send the next message. Build that relationship. This is not send one message, make one phone call type of deal. This is being able to send an email and get a reply back. Not once, not twice, but every time. Or have somebody come to you and say, hey, I heard this. Why is this true about your type of school? Because they do ask questions like that. And often they want to hear from somebody in their district, not somebody who is just another parent from across the Commonwealth. So yeah, be the pain in them. It wins. Be nice. Like I said, we can be respectful. We're telling our stuff. We're telling our truths, right? You don't need the name call. Name call will get you nowhere, right? Just makes you look like an idiot. And if you fight with an idiot on the line, remember this. Mark Twain once said, if you argue with an idiot, he'll drag you down and beat you with experience. Right? Nobody will know who the idiot is at the end of it. But if you hit them with facts in your story, there's nothing anybody can argue with. Because it has made a difference. It will continue to make a difference. It has. It will. There are 71,000 cyber shredder families. I think I've seen with the new PDE numbers that finally came out here in end of May for day one. Figure that one out, right? If I need to report something to the state government, they want it in a week. But if they want to do reporting, they can have months. I don't know. That's a whole other topic for a whole other day. But we will not get too far lost in the weeds. But before I get off this opening intro here, I've got one more point here to make. We're trying to get parents to stop refusing to stand quiet about their kids' future. Period. How many of you, I know, there's fatigue, there is all this other stuff that goes on, right? Baseball fundraisers, dance games, dance events, reading clubs, family vacations, life, laundry, dishes, and the pursuit of happiness, right? We all have all the same things going on. Trust me, I know. And some of us don't even begin to scratch the surface of just that. There's a lot going on that people don't see. And guess what? It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, what matters is how our kids see us fighting for them. Think about it. Our kids are smart, right? No denying that. Our kids are also on the internet, right? No denying that. Now, that could be a whole different conversation. If somebody wants to have that conversation, we can have that at some other point. I will love to talk about that, but that's not tonight. But they see the hit pieces that cyber schools suck. Cyber schools have bad this, bad that, bad this, bad that. And what are they supposed to believe? That they're going to a bad school? That their parents don't know them? Aren't paying attention? Don't care? No, man. We do care. We got to stand up. Because if you'd yell at a first base umpire, you should be yelling at, well, not yelling at your elected officials, but man, you should just get just as hot and stay just as hot, just as mad. Like you did on that ride home because your son was called out when he was clearly safe. Even though, you know, yelling about it and screaming about it didn't change anything. But now here's where it becomes fun, right? You do have the opportunity to change this. Because enough of us stand up and say, wait a second, that kid was safe. The voice of the community takes over. And the officials start to question themselves. Right? And that's how the snowball begins and how the snowball ends with us. And yes, it's a beautiful 74-degree day here in northwestern Pennsylvania. The sun is leaking in, I'm sure you see. Didn't want to get too much natural light in here because I'd look like a really pale ghost. But it's not today. It's not tomorrow. It's every day. We have to build these relationships and hold people accountable for the sake of our children. I don't know why that's so hard for people to get and grip. So many people say, oh yeah, Jim, I'd want to be there. I want to be here doing this. I want to be part of that. But I can't because of this, that, and the other. What do I do? Well, take the time and make that 5-minute phone call. Send that 2-minute email. Text a friend and say, hey, my kid's school's under attack in budget season. Can you please call our senator, fill in the blank, and encourage them not to cut our school? Really, it could be just that much. One friend, right? You get that friend, you copy and paste that message. Next thing you know, you go down the Facebook list, right? I do it. I'm sure some of you have been victims of it. When I have something that I feel popular, or I don't feel popular about, when I have something I need to get out, I'll sit there and go down that list and I'll copy and paste. Why? Because I need you to see it and I need you to take action on it, not just be passive with it. Because far too often when you're scrolling on your phone, it's way too easy to be passive. Passive. This isn't passive. This is contact sport. Bad pun, right? Contact sport. Because you need to contact people. I can't remember the last day that I went without telling somebody about the positive impact our school has had on our kids. Had it been somebody at the grocery store or Walmart or in the doctor's office or at the hospital or at the zoo or my personal favorite, anywhere, right? It doesn't have to be a long scripted talk. But if somebody asks you, take the time to answer them. Or, I've been known to do this too, guilty pleasure of mine. Say you hear some people, overhear some parents somewhere, baseball game, restaurant, wherever, and they're talking about how their kid hates school, or they don't want to get up in the morning, or this, that, and the other. They don't feel like they're getting enough. There's all kinds of conversations. Say, hey, I felt that way too, but I moved. My cyber school is helping us. My public cyber charter school. See, I got to correct myself. I've got to be on it. Why? Because I need all of us to be on it. Budget season starts today. Again, when we hear there's a plan and a deal about to be made, that deal's been made and we're done. We're not going to make we can't make enough phone calls, make enough noise, anything at that point. We need to make the noise before the deal gets done. We need to interrupt their flow right now while they're in their districts, talking to other people, back rooms, doing all the stuff. This week, next week, we just got to be hammering, chipping, right, at the golf course, hammering messages, creating a problem, causing good trouble, as somebody likes to tell me. Cause good trouble, and that's what we're about, good trouble. Because they're our kids, and it's about our kids' future. Which just, again, I can't express enough how important this is. To take this moment, because like I said, this has been a cycle, but to take this moment and stand up and say enough is enough. We can't have this anymore. My kid attends a public school and should be thought as a peer to other public school students, not as less than. You hear that? Did that offend somebody out there? I think it did. Let's say that again. Your student is less than another public school student. I said it. Now I'm going to tell you why. Because there are lawmakers in Harrisburg today who think your child is worth 60 cents on the dollar or less than a kid that goes down the street to a brick and mortar school. Is your son or daughter worth 60 cents on the dollar or less? Because the current number is about 65, 70, depends on the district. Think about it. Let that set in. It's time we stop thinking of our children as less and think of them as equal. A lawmaker told me, as a cyber parent, I can never get that money back. They've already cut it. Don't even try. And I'm calling bullshit right here, right now, in this moment. My kid is worth every penny that the kid that goes down the street's worth. And in my humble opinion, worth more. But we'll just leave it at equal. Is that fair? Is that hitting anybody? Does that make any sense to anybody? Like, they just think, oh, cyber school, yeah, whatever. Yeah, whatever. Not my problem. We'll just keep giving. We'll just cut here, and cut. And that is the stem of the problem. But we'll get to that later. So that's a big teaser. At probably about 7:30 tonight, or in a couple hours, I will pay this all off and explain to you. So get your friends involved. I will explain to you tonight what is going to happen. The big plan that nobody wants to talk about. It's out there. There are pieces out there. Some people have started saying the quiet part out loud. So if you're not sharing this with your friends, if you're not going to stay tuned, come back and watch it, because it gets scary really quick. Just saying. Okay. Close that tab finally. I think I got all that done. Well, I've kind of addressed some of this stuff already, but we're going to go back through it because I think it's important. All right? Oops. Too many buttons, too many screens. Okay, here we go. Move that back in front of my ugly mug so I don't have to look at myself. Excuse me. The parent that never speaks up is what this note was called. They count on systems of exhausted parents staying quiet. I just mentioned this a little bit ago. All the things that parents have to do. Dinner, dishes, laundry, events, all the stuff. We're all exhausted. We're all I get it. Trust me, nobody understands more than me. We're doing all day, every day. They think they can just dance in the darkness and not be exposed. And for far too long they have been. This one kills me too. It really makes me mad. But I've seen it and I've heard it. So I'm going to mention it to you because it should make you mad too. Somebody else will do it. Somebody else will handle it. Well, the school has people, you know, this group exists. Yeah, whatever. Really? You're going to trust somebody else to do the work you should be doing? With the most important thing that you have, which is your children. And when it comes to you, when it comes to that, the most important thing for your child is their education. And you're going to let somebody else handle it? You're going to let somebody else be engaged in it? No. Not this guy. That ain't going to fly. We are not having that. Maybe tired, maybe exhausted, but I can guarantee you, you have time to be your child's advocate for their public cyber charter school. You know how I know that? Instead of scrolling like this, you type a little message and hit send. One video. What is it? Somewhere between 30 seconds and 3 minutes on some of these different apps. Right? One video. You could have it done. You could send that lawmaker, your House member, your Senate member, both, multiple members of each chamber, local officials, news media, whoever, however you feel comfortable. We're sending a message to your friends about, hey, again, like I said, my school's under attack. I need you to call. I need you to email this person and tell them how you've seen the difference in our children. Come on now. We all scroll. I bet you if I looked at my phone, I probably scrolled for 45 minutes. So. We all do it. Okay, next opportunity here. I'm looking for people that are paying attention. What app do you scroll on? Is it TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube? I don't know. There's so many, but I know I'm guilty of seeing a lot of TikTok. So I don't make nearly as many TikTok videos as I should. And maybe that's what I should be doing with my time instead of watching the videos. So there's that. So if you're watching right now, and I know you are, I know there's a few of you out there, go ahead. You watch TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Shorts, wherever they may be. And also, we all have that one person, regardless, right? I've been watching a lot of golf videos lately because it's spring, and I haven't played golf in 5 years, but it kind of always is one of those things that come back for me. So I like the videos, especially the guys that are out there heckling people and all that stuff. Right? But there's one person I'll always send one to. Well, there you go. It is that simple. Because we all share videos with friends about whatever. I'm sure your friends want to hear more about your kids than some guy who bounced his head off a wall. Of course, I sent that video today too. So if you got that, maybe you want to comment that I sent that video to you today and help me as some kind of fool. But that's okay. Here's another fact that I wrote this. When I wrote this, I italicized it because it was so important to me to get out to you all. Silence is interpreted is taken as agreement. If your representative, senator, whoever, your elected officials don't hear from you, they think their stance is right. If it is or isn't. Because if they're not challenged, if they're not hearing from people that stance isn't right, then everybody agrees with them, which is wildly dangerous, isn't it? Wildly dangerous to think about. It's okay. Small voices, right? We all have small voices coming together, which is the hope of this, to bring people together, to gain that momentum, to show people that you don't have to be spit and polish. It's okay. It's okay to have your curtain and your screen. It's okay to have bright light. It's okay. Don't ask permission. Ask for... What was that? Ugh. That scared the hell out of me. I don't even know what it was. I don't know if you guys heard that or not, but whatever it was got me. Okay, so where was I? Yeah, engagement matters more than perfection is where I was. Just like that. Rambled out of control. Perfect timing, unfortunately. Right? That's okay. How would you like to get a perfect email from your friends once every 2 weeks? Instead of the daily, small, choppy text messages or Facebook messages or messages, right? Anybody? Would anybody like that two-week message instead of the day-to-day hand-hitting? Anybody? I'll wait. I'm looking for somebody. No, I'm not going to wait that long because I know everybody likes to hear what's going on in real time. That is the culture now. 24/7, 24/7, 24/7. Right? Letters from home don't exist anymore. It's an email, and it's an email, and it's an email. It's not a letter anymore. So, in that vein, don't be perfect. Matter of fact, don't try to be perfect regardless. Perfection is in the eye, and it's a mistake. But that's a whole nother conversation. Hope somebody out there is making these notes so I can remember all these other conversations. This hits. You do not need permission to share a post. And it's still an action. You do not need permission to share a post. And it is action. Because by sharing that shows, again, you're not being silent. You're agreeing with what is being said, not standing silent. And it's an action. Because say you share one of my posts, you share this video right now. What a sloppy stream it has been. But you share this video right now, and somebody tunes in from your page who's never heard of me, never seen me. I'm sorry you're seeing me now. But they hear something tonight about your kid's school, changes their mind, they call a lawmaker, and then they engage. Now you've created 2 voices instead of 1. And then 2 becomes 4, 4 becomes 8. You see how it goes. It's not that difficult. You can be okay. Okay, I got 2 more points, and then I'll bring the first guest up here. You do not need permission to speak or share your truth. This is your permission right now. I am giving it to you to share. Share your family story. Share your student's story. Share. Speak. Let Pennsylvania, the United States, and the world know that you're proud of your kids and you love their school. Don't be shameful. In the loudest rooms, the rooms where parents should be, we need to be there. And sometimes you don't get invited to those rooms. You have to open those doors yourself. Okay. Don't save that because I've used it. And let's see if this works here. Okay. Teresa, how are you doing tonight? This afternoon. It says you're muted. Let's see. Can I fix that from my end, or do you fix it? No, I don't want to kick. There you are. Can you hear me? Can I wait? It still shows you muted. Are you muted? Oh, there you go. And I still can't. Oh, wait, hold on. Try again. No, it's not better. I still can't hear you. What is going on there? Live broadcast here, folks. We're struggling to figure out the details here. I don't know why I can't hear you. That's weird. Hold on, let's do this. I'm gonna add another person here and see if this works. Fighting the technology here. Okay. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. We'll find out here in a second, maybe. Eliza, are you muted or do I have you muted on my end? Because I am new to this and we're going to figure this out one way or the other. Eliza, can you hear me? Okay. We're having technical difficulties there too. So let's try this again. Okay. Come on. Come on. Okay. Shows you talking, but I can't hear you, which is always lovely. Let me check one thing. Maybe it is me. Maybe I am being the idiot here. So hold on just a second, because let's be honest, it wouldn't be the first time I've been an idiot. And probably won't be the last. Okay. Let's see if this one works.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, which is startling. I don't know why I can't hear everybody else right at the moment, but we'll figure that out. While I try to push buttons over here, I don't know why I can hear you and not them, because they came up the same way. So we will figure that out as we go here.
I've been playing with my settings, so.
What'd you figure out?
There's a mute button on my end where I have to fix the microphone.
Okay. So you figured it out. So maybe we can figure it out with some other people here in a second. So thank you for being here, Miss Bella. For those of you who don't realize, we have the same last name. This is my daughter Bella because, why not? So why don't you go ahead and give us a couple quick minutes. Talk to me about how school's changed for you.
Well, I figured I could read my speech from January that I couldn't read because of the major snowstorm.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. My name is Isabella Mallard, but I like being called Bella. I am 16 years old, and I attend Commonwealth Charter Academy. My speech today is about the importance of student advocacy. Let's start with the definition of student advocacy. Student advocacy is the process of supporting, defending, and empowering students to ensure their rights, needs, and voices are heard and met within the educational system. It involves both professional advocates and students themselves working for equitable access to resources, fair treatment, and positive policy changes for a more inclusive learning environment. You may be asking yourself, why am I telling you this? I am telling you this because I believe that every school should have a student advocate, and most importantly, every student should know how to advocate for themselves. I've been an advocate for 4 years now, but I didn't choose advocacy. Advocacy chose me. I started realizing how important it was after my family had to fight for a change in both my education and my brother's education. If you know me, you know my story, but here it is again. I have more to tell you. Now I have more to tell you now. Up until the summer of 4th grade, I attended a local brick-and-mortar school. What should have been a place of learning became a constant place of struggle. There was nonstop issues with teachers, other students, and even the principal. My family tried everything: meetings, emails, conversations, but eventually nothing changed. The situation became so serious that we had to take legal action against the school. We sued them and won. Winning didn't mean the fight was over, though. We still had to find a new school. We considered homeschooling, but we didn't want to lose opportunities to make friends or to be a part of a school community. That's when we found Commonwealth Charter Academy, a public online school that still offered social activities, field trips, and real connections. CCA changed everything for us. My brother, now a graduate of CCA, graduated with high honors and earned 4 technical certificates. That didn't happen by accident. It happened because he was finally in an environment that listened and supported him. As for me, this part is changed now, but I was technically a 9th grader due to a missing credit, but now I am in 10th grade. And honestly, that small setback does not define me. I have a 4.0 GPA and number 2 out of my class of 5,000. What does define me is I learned how to speak up and how to ask for help and how to fight for what I deserve. I have also have been honored on the Senate and House floor, which for the reason I will explain next. Thank you, Senator Scott Hutcherson and Representative Arlie James. Over a year ago, I was in the hospital, 110 days to be exact. I was in surgery for very quick surgery, and after I was in post-op, I coughed up. I coughed and ended up started throwing up blood. 3 to 4 liters of nonstop blood while being rushed back to the OR. Once I was in the OR, I coded 4 rounds of epi to bring me back. I was placed in a medically induced coma. After a month in ICU, I was transferred into an inpatient rehab where I learned how to walk, eat, talk, and use my hands again. It was difficult, but it's the reason I am able to be here talking to all of you. Student advocacy matters because not every student has a voice that is immediately heard. Some students are too afraid to speak up. Some do not know their rights. Others feel like no one will listen. That's why advocates, both adults and students, are so important. They help bridge the gap between students and the system that is supposed to support them. If there had been a student advocate at my old school, my story would have been different. We would not have to fight so hard just to be treated fairly. That is why I believe schools do not need rules and policies. Not just need rules and policies, but also people who are willing to stand up for students when things go wrong. Before I give you my closing statement today, it's important I thank some people who have helped me to get back where I was before. First, my parents. My mom, who's currently in the hospital from suffering 2 strokes this past summer. My dad, who's been so helpful with Youth and Government Club and driving me around everywhere. My older brother, Skylar, who's my now live-in tutor, as I call him. All my other families, my aunt, my uncles, my grandmas, my dog Vega, my best friends, Andy and Wyatt, who have helped me while I've been going day to day. So my last message today is simple. Your voice matters, whether you are struggling, succeeding, or somewhere in between. You deserve to be heard. Do not be afraid to ask questions, speak up, or advocate for yourself or others. If you ever feel like being
Hold on, baby.
be the person. What?
There you go. Well, for whatever reason, we just lost about a few seconds of that. So.
Oh, I'm almost done. So.
Okay.
Do not be afraid to ask questions, speak up, or advocate for others. And if you see someone being ignored or treated unfairly, be the person who stands with them. Because, to quote Hamilton the musical, history has its eyes on you. Student advocacy is not about fixing problems. It's about creating schools where every student feels safe, supported, and valued. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that with us, Bella. I know that, yes, we were there in January when the Capitol was closed. And let me tell you, if you've never been to the Capitol, when people were there, you need to go there when people were there. But more importantly, I learned when the people aren't there, it gets really weird real quick. When you're standing outside in the cold. Yeah, like it was weird. Okay. Thank you, Bella Boo.
Yep.
You can do whatever, you're back to whatever.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay, let's see if we figured out Teresa yet.
Teresa,
are you there?
Yes, can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
I think I can hear you. I can hear you now. So whatever I can hear you. So whatever buttons you pushed or whatever, I don't know.
It's another phone.
Like I said, we're walking through this together. Oh, well, there you go. Easy enough to fix the problem, I guess. So I want to know, what was that moment? Because we all, as parents, have that moment where we decide something needs to change for our kids. What was that moment for you?
Well, I always did educational software. I was in education my whole life, from teaching all the way down through. for me, we've been raising our 4 grandchildren for the past 17 years. So we started all again. From 5th grade, we've been with CCA, Commonwealth Charter Academy, for the past, I guess we're going on 7 years. And I still have 1 to go, 2 more years. I got 3 already out that graduated from Commonwealth Charter Academy. For me, yes, it was a lot of trying to get the boys to go to switch. My background in education and software made me realize that Commonwealth Charter Academy had a phenomenal, phenomenal curriculum, and it was made by the school. So it was something that I researched and found. When the pandemic happened, it was about the same time our boys were just getting bullied to the point where it just wouldn't stop. Okay. My third child, literally got his nose broke on the bus. So it was really safety. It was really the degree of education they were getting, and it was inferior to what they should have been getting. So for us, that was the reason. We said enough, and we switched over to Commonwealth Charter Academy. The first time, and I have to say this, I think this is important to people that they don't realize that. The first time I got a phone call from Commonwealth Charter Academy, I was like, oh my God, what did the boys do? No, this is something that Commonwealth Charter Academy does to every family. Every family. There's not one that they don't call. So for us parents that were with the brick and mortar schools to get that first call just to say, hey, how are you doing? It was shocking. But it's the education quality is just beyond what I've been experienced, and I traveled all through all different school districts, so across the country. So my experience with school districts was quite extensive. When there was 501 school districts instead of 500, so it's a time ago. But anyway,
I actually, I think it's $4.99 now, but I haven't been able to confirm.
Did we come down?
I've seen it both ways.
Well, I was seeing something from the Department of Ed.
Like I said,
I was seeing something in Department Ed where they were talking about 600, and I'm like, who has that number? I'd like to see it. So,
oh no.
But anyway, it was interesting.
Oh no, we'll get that big tease I did earlier about how this is going to end up if we don't pay attention and start acting now. I have a number from somebody at the PD, or in the Capitol. I'll say it that way.
Yeah.
Who has part of the plan? We'll get into it, and it's not 600, and it's not 500 or $4.99. Stay tuned.
Well, the sad part is
gotta tease everybody,
because I dealt with a lot of school budgets over the years, because we were selling educational software. So we knew what each school was making. We knew the breakdown for what was going where, how much is spent by the administration, how much is being spent on the students. And it's shocking, right now, and I know you know the number, 23,061 for each child in Pennsylvania.
Yep. Yet
homeschooled and religious, private, and our cyber schools, they're a little bit different. We do get a little small percentage, but those thousands of children that are doing homeschool, religious, and private are getting 0%. 0%, and yet that school district they reside in is getting all that money. For one student, K to 12, that is it's very close to 300,000. 300,000 for one student that is being misappropriated by school districts. I'm sorry. In other words, I'd say stealing, but I don't want to go that far. But it's misappropriated, and if we don't stand up for that money, because and working with these different school districts, they just go out and get a bond. They go out and get a CD. They get out and get this thing to hide the money. And of course, they give themselves nonstop raises because they can. And I will say for teachers, I can't fault the teachers in the respect that they do what they have to do in brick and mortar schools. They keep them separated so they don't communicate to each other. And they themselves do not know the fact that what each student gets and how much they're not getting, So those teachers that are out there in brick and mortar spending money for tissues and pens and papers and disinfectant wipes for their desk, they aren't getting anything. They aren't getting anything. But yet in my case with the charter schools, we get $8,000 and the school district keeps $15,000 of that money. And They want to make it less. Why? Why is my child any less deserving of those funds that were allotted to them than a student in brick and mortar? That's not seeing it either. But, it's wrong. And I think our fight needs to be in respect to our representatives and such. They don't know the story. They have not. They've had these pony shows they put out there where they go out and they talk to these, retired superintendents and such. But no one says a word about the money that's being misappropriated to the students of Pennsylvania. It is, So I'm a big fighter in respect to the monies that are being hidden and stolen from our children. And my child is never any less deserving. And I knew back in the day, if you said my child was not getting equal education, they had to jump at it. They had to jump on that and do your IEP or whatever they needed because it was getting a special program in. They had to do it because you said the magic words. My child is not getting an equal, appropriate education. But yet no one says it for the homeschooled, the private and the religious schools, and yes, even our cyber schools, because our cyber schools are actually public schools. And in a public school, when all these students, and we're talking, what, 70,000 or more that's going to alternative.
Yeah, going to cyber schools, it's over 70,000 now. Uh-oh. The fastest block of growth in education in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Public cyber charter schools. Looks like we've got derailed there for a second with the old internet. We'll let her come back. Two phones, no internet, I get it. Western Pennsylvania is great for all of that stuff. Let's see. Okay. Like I said, we'll bring her back up when she gets back here in a minute. But to the point, the teachers, right? I love teachers. Every day, all day. It's not the teacher's fault. Matter of fact, I'd love to give the teachers more. And we're gonna show something. We're gonna do a little back of the notebook math here. Okay? Teacher has 30 kids in class, right? At 20, we'll just go 20,000 because math is easier that way. The first 5, right? Salary, retirement, health insurance, salary, other things. 100 whatever thousand. Okay, 100,000 was the 20, but okay, 6, 120,000. Okay, 24 more students. 10 for lighting, heat, building, all the building stuff. Another 4 for books. I don't know. You see what I'm saying? Like, it goes out quick. And then you probably have another 10 that is out there, which doesn't make sense. Let's see if we can get her back up here. I wish this would keep the same mode that I already selected, but, it probably does if I hit the right setting, but we'll never figure that out. So, Teresa, welcome back. Oh, no. You're talking to us again, and we can't hear you again. Hold on. Let's see. Oh no! Try muting again on your end. Oh, maybe. Hold on. Let's try it. Let's see this. Now you froze. I still can't hear you. What is going on? This is fun. I'm glad we're learning this the hard way. Sarcasm font. Yeah, I can't hear you. Can you hear me? Yes, you can hear me, but I can't hear you. Okay. We'll circle back around in a second. We were just talking about the back of the matchbook math that we have going on, and the 20,000 per student 30 time. See if she's there now. What did you do? What did you do? I mean, I know the wind blew the wrong direction, but what did you do? Oh no. Okay, we'll get back to that in a second. So, like I Go. Are we paying attention? Far too often we're not. So yes, I wish teachers got more. And I know teachers can get more. Let's see. Well, let's try this one more time, I think. Maybe? No. What did I do now? It's myself. I still can't hear you, Teresa. I don't know. We'll figure it out here. Let's just try coming back in. We'll try that. I don't know. I'm out of good knowing here because somebody suggested I do this via Zoom and then broadcast the Zoom, but Zoom has its own flaws too. So there was something else I was gonna mention in there, but I forget. So hey, we're an hour in, right? So if you're still out there paying attention, alert and alive, who is your lawmaker? Who is your state senator? Who is your state representative? And do you know how to find them?
Am I back?
I don't know who they are. Am I back or not? You are. Look at that.
Now I can't hear you.
You're back and better than ever. Well, maybe. I don't know if you're better than ever. No, you can't hear me.
Can you hear me now?
What did we do there?
No, I can't hear you.
Apparently not.
Now I can't hear you.
Okay.
I think you better do somebody else. It's not going to work.
Technology is great when it doesn't work. I mean, when it works. Okay. Well, thanks for joining on, and we'll get it figured out one way or the other one of these days. Thanks,
Okay.
Teresa, for being a guinea pig. Sorry it didn't work so well. Okay, so there's all that fun. So we're at the top of the 5 o'clock hour, or the hour 1 has been completed. We're in the hour 2 now. For those people who didn't think we could make it hour 1, we're still here. And guess what? We're going to keep going. Why? What else do I have to do on a beautiful Monday afternoon besides sit here and talk to people? Absolutely gorgeous. I knew this was going to happen. There's nothing more that I want to be than outside right now. It's 75, sun's out, spot on, perfect outside right now. Neighbor's cooking out. I think he's cooking out. I see smoke. Either, who knows? Could be burning something. Could be grilling. Either way. Absolutely gorgeous afternoon out there. So let's come back to the note sheet here. Oh boy. Do I really want to start the second hour here? Okay, we're going to, because I didn't put these in order. So we're just going to go with the one that was on top. And like I said, we'll be cutting these up into pieces that you'll see throughout the remainder of the year. So, but what happens when programs disappear? What happens when your school gets that budget cut? What happens when your student loses money? What happens when those programs disappear? Well, at first, we all know this. Funding cuts rarely, if ever, hit administrators first. They are looking for ways to save money around the building. They rather buy cheap promo pens instead of G2 pens that cost more. Right? They take a pay cut. But they'll still buy the expensive pens for them, by the way. Not on a whole. Not lumping all 100% of them in there. So I know there are maybe a few good ones out there. But for every few good ones, there's many who will do the wrong things. It's just a fact. We know that. Not sugarcoating it for anybody. Transportation changes hurt working parents. Yeah, I mean, it seems that in this era, this is going on around me, been going on around me personally, my school district, the school districts around me, because we live up here in northwestern Pennsylvania where the population is stinking like a stone, and maybe even faster than a stone in water. So we see schools combining, closing elementary schools, closing this, closing that, realigning, all the fancy words for we're trying to keep this together, but we really don't know how. We don't have a long-term plan, but we're just going to hit, and do this. Some school districts remodeling buildings only to close them before they've paid the bill off. Or right after they paid the bill off. Remodeling is supposed to be a long-term investment, right? You wouldn't invest in your porch and then cut your porch off. Say, oh, go ahead, take it. I don't need it anymore. We'll just do with the stuff, we'll just put it in the house. Does that make sense? Does anybody say that? So we got to challenge that too. Also, the other thing that comes out quickly, indirectly or directly, is that the mental health supports that are built in get evaporated because it doesn't show up on a spreadsheet as a value. It just shows up as a cost. Just saying. This is what I've seen. This is what I've been watching. The other one that goes away pretty quickly are the arts and the electives. Damn it, if I see the Facebook banner that says we should have shop class instead of this one more time, I get it. We should. We should teach our kids to work with our hands instead of working with a Chromebook. I 100% support that. Right? 100% support that. So, but how do we make that all work within that smaller pie? Again, that's why those people who want this don't understand that. Right? It's easy to want something. It's easier to complain about something and not have the solution. We all know people like that. I think you should paint your car gold. Why? It looked good. Sure, it would look good gold. Until you sat in a rainstorm and it looked really bad because it has all these watermarks on it. Right? We all know that far too well. Okay. Yes, in art and music, marching band. I'm not a marching band kid. Not a band kid, not an arts kid. But I understand the power and the impact of the arts. Right? And of music. Probably seeing me do some things with music over the summer, but we'll digress into that. Teachers get more responsibilities. Yeah, we were just talking about how they don't get enough pay, but they always seem the way to find more work. Cover that lunch. Oh, you don't need that training period. Cover that study hall. Cover that class. Oh, you can teach another class, right? Right? You can do it. And you only teach 7, what's 8? I mean, it's the same thing. You just use it again. Run it back. Who cares if you're tired and it doesn't work for you to teach 8? Yeah, screw it. Teach 8. Teach 9. Who cares? You're a good teacher. You got it. And while that's happening, what happens in those situations is where the kids get more and more and more homework and more stressed. Because back to my analogy of 30 kids in a classroom versus 20 versus 40. Right? How does that look? The classroom with 20, the teacher gets to know and gets the opportunity to help directly one-on-one more than at 30. Right? And I hate using 40, but I know it's out there in places. I'm not assuming it happens in Pennsylvania. There are laws against it in a lot of places. But those places there aren't, it does happen. And it could happen. Think about that. It could happen. And here's the thing. Before we move off this into something else. When you close down those little neighborhood schools, this one, that one, that one, and bring them all together, communities start to lose their identities. Right? I have the perfect story for this. It's true. Follow me for a minute. When I was playing 5th grade boys basketball. We played against the other schools in the district. 7th Street, Utica, Polk. I went to Victory and Sandy Creek. Right? And those games, when we got to middle school, people were still talking about those games. Right? Hey, I remember you from that game. You really, man, that was some good shooting. Or, in my case, hey, that was a hard foul. I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like you. Which is fair. I get it, right? But now, today, if I was that same 5th grader, we have Victory, Sandy Creek, and Central. Free schools. Instead of 6, or whatever it was. Those communities, like Polk and Victory and 7th Street, right? Those communities are impacted. Even though they fall under the same umbrella, right? But that pride in that community goes away. Now, Jim, how does that impact going forward? The pride in the community goes away, right? As you start tearing layers out of the onion, right? The pride in the community goes away. The pride in the community goes away. I'm going to say it one more time. The pride in the community goes away. What does that look like? Instead of staying in that community, they move to the city. That community takes a hit. Or they stay in that community, but there's no pride in the community, so they build a massive tire wall with junk cars behind it. The pride in that community isn't there. See what I'm saying? It's not a single action. It's not a single domino. It doesn't happen overnight. But it does have lasting impacts that we may or may not get to see. Legacy. Sorry, Hamilton fans get that. Okay, sorry. And it's all related, right? So now those kids have longer bus rides, or bus rides for the first time. Changes how they operate, changes their pride in their neighborhood, community. Not saying we should keep all these small schools open. Goodness, there's not enough money for that. I understand the business side of reality, the dollars and cents. But I also understand that there are real world impacts when you close a school. I look at Philadelphia threatening to close down 30 schools. Seems like a lot, right? But you go look, some of those buildings need closed. Philadelphia has a lot of rough buildings. And they've been given a lot of money to fix buildings, and they still have a lot of rough buildings. That's a rabbit hole for you to fall down and enjoy. I suggest don't do it. You'll be mad. Big mad. So, I'm also a president of a nonprofit board. Surprise! I like to talk to people. How does this impact that? Well, if you don't have that passion and pride in the community, your local civic groups, right? Your Kiwanis, your Elks, your Moose, your Bears, your Lions, and Tigers, the Bears, I'll take that hit. Because young people aren't seeing those people. We all know they're out there, right? But if they're missing that opportunity to see that person with their vest or whatever on, to hear that story, to be directly impacted by that person, we're losing those community connections. Sorry. I haven't even drank that much, and A, I'm losing my voice, and B, I just can't stop. But, okay. Of course, one could argue there's a whole different can of worms to this, too, if you want to put it in a different lens around community. Another conversation for another day. I'm here to talk education tonight. Having said that, to say this, I want to bring up, you've been seeing CandyAppleAdvocacy.com scrolling across the top and across the bottom. That's where I blog. That's where I share. As you heard Bella say, my wife had 2 strokes last summer. She was heavy into the IEPs, the 504s, the internal day-to-day operations of schools. It was a mammoth task. She took it, did well with it. Meanwhile, I took the other side. The government, the school board, the getting parents engaged at that level side of it. So right now you're going to get a lot of heavy me, because that's what there is. Right? But I'm not sponsored. Should be, not. But I'm going to intentionally be more intentional towards that stuff as we go forward. I need to find balance. But I'm also going to bring up something that means a lot to me that I have nothing to do with. The Pennsylvania Association of Public Cyber Charter Schools. I'm going to go off the rails here. Forgive me for a minute, or a few. A number of years ago, I was directly working with the PA Coalition of Charter Schools. Not working in the volunteer sense of the word, working. Right? Nobody's paid me for any of this. A dime. And I could show you the money it's cost. Let alone the billable hours that would make you think I was nuts. That group, the coalition, has fallen off the radar. And I'm not going to get into that. I have my own thoughts about that. But that's here or there, right? Because it doesn't matter what I think about that. But the association came along at the right moment. Because for far too long, public cyber charter schools were getting abused. I'll say it. Nobody wants me saying it that way. Attacked, assaulted, abused, discriminated against. It's what it was. Because we didn't have a voice on the inside working for us. You always hear me saying that the other side has millions and millions of dollars and thousands of members. Right? You've heard me say that. If you haven't, you have now. And I'm going to do a blog in the next few weeks about all of those. Okay? But for tonight, I'm not going to run into that because that's a lot. But if you're cool, if your kid goes to a cyber school, you need to follow that link up there and invite all your friends, because that's how we win. And yes, I said win. We put enough lawmakers back on their heels to know this is not a good suggestion, and then we take what we have lost. First, we have to stop the bleeding. Let lawmakers know we're there and we're tired of it. And over there at the association page, let me tell you, there's data out there on that page that causes firestorms. More than anything that I've posted in a while. Just saying. So go over there. Check that out. I'll leave that up there for a while for you folks. I don't remember where I was or where I was going, but we're going to... Oh, we were talking about communities. So I think I've pretty much killed that topic. And we'll get out of that one for now. But before I do, like I said, candyappleadvocacy.com. You can follow me on Facebook. If you're watching this and not following me on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, congratulations. Hi, guys. It's been a minute since I did the Mallard Report, which is my old podcast where I talked about any number of things from paranormal to conspiracy to authors to this, that, and the other. Okay? If you're into that kind of stuff, full archives. Jeez, a piece. A lot of fun. I miss it. Coming up on I put that on to do this. Right? Because I need a singular focus. I do miss it though. But I don't have enough time to juggle. To do it right. So, right now, I'm going to do what's right. For me. For my family. For my kids. That's what matters. Okay, so Now that we've settled that out, and like I said, be sure to follow the Association of Public Cyber Charter Schools. Marcus over there has done great work and continues to do great work. Okay. Facebook loaded and let me see what I needed to see. I would be on my way, but it doesn't. Okay. Oh. Ooh. This one. This one should be later, but we're going to do it now. Why do parents leave traditional school districts in Pennsylvania? Remember earlier, I kind of teased this out about why people don't want to know what is happening, why they're leaving. Well, for the next few minutes, we're going to talk about it. Okay? Every family situation is different. We know that. That's a given. That doesn't matter about the school situation or leaving or coming or going. Every family has different variables in their lives today, and they could all change tonight. Trust me, I know that too. Flexibility that public cyber charters give to families matters for some families. Some families love the rigid that the school district gives them. Of course, sometimes I often wonder, do they love it, and is it best for their child, or is it free child care? And yes, I know child care is ungodly expensive. Don't get me wrong. I do know that too. Okay? Part of that nonprofit stuff. I do pay attention to that stuff. I get it. These two are the number one and number two reasons I hear for families leaving. Anxiety, bullying. Every district says they have a zero tolerance policy or some variation therein. But in reality, how it gets applied, how it gets enforced, how it actually works, is anybody's guess. And that's the problem. And I said it before, every family situation is different. Every administrator sees it different. Every teacher sees it different. I mean, as far down as it goes as boys will be boys. I heard it. It's true. Right? Not cool, but there it is. Medical needs can change education choices. Thankfully, we already had made our choice. When Bella went through her horrific events that she mentioned about an hour ago, when she almost bled out, cardiac arrest, stopped breathing, came back and had to learn everything, motor skills, all the fun stuff. You know, you think it's exciting to see your kid take their first step. It's so much more mind-blowing to see your kid take their first step again. I'm just going to leave it hang there for a second, because it's impactful. And if you haven't, you don't know. But if you have, you do know. And also, some kids just thrive outside their traditional models. I know in my house, we've got an early bird and a night owl with my kids, right? Neither of them would fit the traditional model well. Maybe the morning person, maybe. Right? Maybe. Maybe not. But we'll see, right? And some, like I said, everyone's different. We have to remember that. So if it is working well for your kid in the brick and mortar school, great. I'm glad it is. I am so glad that works for your child. But you can't then, in turn, not respect what works for my kid. And far too often that's the case. It is just that blank. Okay? These next few all run together and are powerful. Parents feel judged for switching. Trust me, we do. Oh, your kid can't hack it at a regular school, so you're switching to that cyber school. Oh, your kid is just that, this, that, and the other. You just don't want to handle it. You just want somebody else to handle it. No, you don't know. That ties into this next point I wrote down. Leaving is never an easy decision. Wasn't in this house. Every parent I've talked to, some come to it quicker than others, but it was never a let's do it moment. It was never based on an advertisement, never based on this, that, or the other. It's based on thought, reflection, taking a few minutes, pondering what is best for your child. Having those conversations with your child, those hard conversations, those moments of, is it working for them? Or is there stuff they're not telling you? Is there stuff they're not telling you? That's where it gets fun, right? Because bullying can be hid. Anxiety can be hid. We all know that, right? All of us have anxiety and stress. Adults. Looking at you, right? Do we talk about it? Honestly talk about it with people? No. You know why? Because the other adults have their own stress and anxiety. They don't need, we all have it. So it makes it really easy for us to hide that we're going through something more than we're going through. It layers up. And guess what? It does the same for our kids. I don't know why. Some people just, it took me, once I realized that, I realized how bad I had been about it. And it's not comfortable in those moments of self-reflection to realize that I wasn't paying enough attention. I wasn't listening. I heard what I wanted to hear and not what I should have heard. Yeah, I said it. It's humbling when you reflect and realize that the symptoms of anxiety were there, but you thought it was just an upset stomach. I just want to sleep in this morning. Can you take me to school instead of making me ride the bus? Right? Innocent little things when you put them separately. But when you put that puzzle back together, it turns pretty major pretty quick. And once you start putting that puzzle together, you can't stop putting it together. Because it's about your kids and their health and their welfare and their safety. Just saying. And while we're talking about mental health and safety, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention something that our kids in district schools face daily, monthly, I don't know, more often than they should, for damn sure. And that's lockdowns and lockdown drills, and what to do if there's a shooter in the building, and what to do if there's this or that. Remember when our problem was they thought we would understand hiding under a desk during a tornado? Come on, somebody else out there has to have had that happen. Right? Or, as my mom would tell me, yeah, the desk would save them from nuclear attack. Now, granted, those desks were built better back in the day. But nuclear bombs are still pretty violent. But yet, there we went. We went through it. We did it because we were told to. Now that we're older and a little bit wiser, we realize that being under the desk or out in the hallway, if a tornado came through, may be better than being in the classroom with all those glass windows. but it's still not safe by any stretch of the imagination, like it was presented to be. But I can't imagine. Okay, I'm talking tornadoes, right? I can't imagine attending a school with an active shooter drill where they run around and fire practice rounds, right? So kids get used to the noise. How about this? How about instead of lowering the expectations to this will happen to you, and figure out how we can prevent it from entering our doors, how we can encourage and enable our children to have better mental health so they don't want to be mass shooters. Back to that community thing, you see? That's why none of this happens in a vacuum. None of this is easy. None of this is straightforward. So if you've been watching for the last hour and a half, you see the interweaves of all these topics and why I decided to march forward tonight, because I had done the work. Even with it being a holiday and a number of people saying, hey, I'm out with family tonight, I can't make it. Why? I felt this message as a cumulative was important enough to share. And I hope you take the time to share it with somebody else. Let's see, back to the notes. Last one on this why parents leave traditional schools note that I made. Families deserve respect, not stereotypes. I mentioned a few of them there, right? Your kid's lazy, your kid's this, your kid's that. You're, as a parent, lazy or this or that. You don't, what? You're too good for school? Yeah, I am. I want my kids to be safe, heard, respected, valued, taught. Those things. Able to ask for help. Damn, that hurts me right there. Able to ask for help. Because, far too often in my younger days of education, I didn't ask for help when I needed it. Or didn't feel I could ask for help. Because there were other kids who were asking for help. Beat me to it, so to speak. Who probably didn't need it. Or worse, sitting there talking to the teacher like trying to kiss ass to gain some whatever. I don't know. We all know it happens. Right? We all know that happens. Okay. Next note. Oh boy. What cyber families actually look like. I should have put these in better order. But I didn't. So here we go. What cyber families actually look like. Regular families. Imperfect families, like every other family. Students with unique needs. Not necessarily special needs or gifted, or every student has unique learning needs. Some kids love to learn from a book. Some kids learn from doing. Some kids learn from a hybrid of both. Shocking, right? Okay. Other things to think about. Back to that schedule thing we were talking about. I've seen some great stories of athletes and dancers and performers, and the list goes on and on, who benefit from public cyber charter schools in Pennsylvania. Because they have the flexibility to be at this event somewhere away from home on a Friday. They would have missed a full day of school before. Now they've got a Wi-Fi connection and guess what? They're there. Or the travel days, right? I mean, we all have been on those vacations where, you cut out a Friday and a Monday, right? Well, there's 2 days. And then Tuesday comes around and you're not doing that shit that you missed over the last few days. And all slides downhill. So the flexibility to be able to take your kid to a doctor's appointment? Some of you out there are just rapidly shaking your heads right now and understand exactly where I'm going with this. Being able to take your kids to a doctor's appointment, not need a school excuse, not need harassed by the lady at the desk. Well, you should have scheduled it for 8 o'clock or for 9 o'clock instead of 1 o'clock, because at 9 o'clock they have art and at 1 o'clock they have math. Excuse me? My kid's doctor had an appointment at 1 o'clock. That's where we're going. Sorry it didn't work within the schedule of the school. Not sorry. Just not. That whole, oh boy. Or another one that hits a little too close to home. Keep your kids home when they're sick. You're keeping your kid home that's sick too often. It's a thing. It's reality for some families with immunocompromised children, or even just, normal children who, if you follow the rules, the fever, the cough, the runny nose, yeah, they could miss too much school. Because, technically, right, I've got this sore throat kind of thing going on. If that was on that list, I'd be home today. Of course, today's a holiday. That means I would have missed all of last week and probably a good part of this week. That's a problem. It's a big problem. That's 8 days of your before truancy 10. And we have issues in the fall, the winter, and the spring with different viruses. Just saying. If you don't know, you don't know. Families in rural areas. Boy, I know this one too. Up here in northwestern Pennsylvania. Because as I've mentioned before, our districts are in the game of contracting because we're losing so much population. Young population. Right? So, hold on. I heard this the other day. I'm going to change the details to protect the innocent. Young man accepted to a college. But, they needed to take a foreign language. Not a big deal. Except they didn't have. They had a few, but they were advanced. He needed that 101 entry level. But at the high school, they didn't teach that because they had the level 101 in the middle school. This kid moved to the district after that, so this poor kid had to go to middle school foreign language class to get that credit. Which, that's a whole different can of worms I'm not going to get into, but I don't think the middle school credit should count for high school graduation. Different argument. Argument nonetheless. We kind of already addressed this, but we'll bring it back the other way now. When your kid needs time to recover from that traumatic event, from the bullying, from this, from that. Hey, like I said, I watched it real fast, real close in my space. Watching my kids struggle. Well, let's say this. Struggle, but before that there was the panic. Excuse me. The sheer panic of just watching helplessly as blood kept coming. And then that long road back. But instead of feeling pressured, she had the opportunity to pick, go as far as she could that day, and then stop. And then pick it up the next day and do a little bit more. not feel the weight of a day upon her. Big difference. Knowing that you can go hard or go soft depending on the day. The thing that we found with her, she mentioned it, top 10 in her class. She said number 2, but I'll say top 10 just for sake of conversation. Right? So she picked and she picked and she picked and she learned. It worked. And they're moving ahead. She's gaining. I can't begin to tell you how much she's gained. And here's the other fun fact that lawmakers don't want to talk about. Brick and mortar schools don't want to talk about. And we don't talk about enough. And yes, I'm getting closer. We are more engaged with our students' learning on a day-to-day basis than we were before. Cyber families aren't lazy. We're more engaged. We pay more attention. We have more access. More access. Let me explain that to you. 2 years ago, ish. Doesn't really matter. Bella had a math day. About this time of the year. Right? She had been chucking along, clicking, click. One day she just didn't get it. It just didn't click. It just didn't click. Dad, can you help me with this? Sure. I took the geometry, the algebra, the geometry. I held my own with math. Of course, new math versus the old math, this is where it gets tricky. Right? So I said, yeah, I kind of understand that, but give me a minute. So I sat there, watched the teacher teach the class. Think about that. Being able to watch the teacher teach class recorded at home at 7:30 at night, so I could help my child learn about their math. Didn't need to interrupt the teacher's evening trying to get a hold of a teacher, which you rarely ever do, or find Google how to do it and hope that's the same or just worse. Throw it in AI and say your answer's 4. Kids still need to learn those steps, those thinking processes. How you get from point A to point B. Understanding variables, which seems like a math concept, but it's a real life concept too. If you know, you know. Not everything's 2 + 2. It never is. Last one on this one. Cyber charter families, public cyber charter school families in Pennsylvania are just that. Pennsylvania families. We're not special. We're just another family with our kids in school who want the very best for their kids in school. It really is not that difficult. Sometimes it seems unfathomable to some people. We still have all the same issues. We're not superhuman, but we know what we're doing. Okay. Close that note. Oh boy, see, I needed to put these better order instead of just slopping them together, but here we go. How to advocate without being political. You're advocating for your student, for their school. Your school is not blue, your school is not red. Your school is your children's school, your children's education. Just because one side wants to cut money from it and another side tentatively doesn't want to cut money from it, doesn't mean you have to be political. Right? Advocacy is not partisanship. It's not a political point. You either can be an advocate or you can be a political lobbyist pundit, whatever you can be. The two streams shall not cross. So, how do we become advocates? Better advocates. First thing, we focus on the kids, their school, not parties. Because honestly, at the end of the day, you're a parent, in most of the cases, talking to another parent. If they're not directly a parent, which I know some aren't. Some are grandparents, though, so, like, here we are. But they understand children and understand education, regardless if they have a kid on their own or not. They might not be as neck deep in it as we are, but they get the fight. They understand. Right? Don't think of them as less than because they haven't been through the school pickup line. Boy, if somebody ever figured out how to do that seamlessly, they'd be on an island somewhere. Just saying. Next point I want to tell you. Be respectful. I think we mentioned this earlier. But be direct. You don't have to word salad everything. Sometimes less is more. Sometimes less is more. Be direct, but respectful. Dear Mr. Lawmaker, my student is succeeding because of their public cyber charter school in ways I couldn't imagine. This past week, they got to get hands-on with whatever animal, computer, whatever it was. Send. Not perfect, not long, but there. Like I said, emails still matter. That personal connection. Who doesn't like getting an email from another person? Anybody? Anybody out there not like getting an email from another person that says something significant and important? Or those text messages that matter? Phone calls. Now I know there's some people already saying, I don't like phone calls. Don't call me. I get it. Don't call me. Send me a text, send me an email first, say, hey, I gotta talk to you. Yeah. Okay? But they still matter. Your voice is being heard. Your voice. Showing up is when the conversations really change. Because when you're in the same room, the same space, as the person you're trying to advocate for your children to, becomes a lot harder to click delete. Throw away the phone message. They can't run out of the room all the time. Well, maybe some do. I can't say they can't run out of the room all the time, because some folks probably do. Makes them uncomfortable. Yeah. I know. I shouldn't have said it, but I did. Because there are some who rather not talk to you. Surprise! Because they have the party line so drilled in them that they could repeat it without thought. But that's why you're there telling them about your kids. Why this matters to you. Because it matters. Like I've said before, relationships matter long term. Yes, it's the election year. It's hard to invest in some House members because, let's be honest, in 6 months, some of them will have lost elections. The cycle goes on. But here's what we also need to learn. That former state representative is still a person of influence. Regardless. They're going to go to a company or whatever and carry that influence. They're still going to be in the room. Maybe not the same way, but they'll still be in the room. We have to factor that. And the last point on this, which is a big one, which it's frustrating in this day and age, because we live in that 24-hour news cycle, like I was saying earlier. But persistence beats outrage. And that's what I'm talking about. Because far too often, we get engaged when it's too late. This is a free 65 conversation, folks. This isn't a one-day conversation, a one-call conversation. This is being that person that is there, and they can't hide from you because they know you, because you know them, because you may see them in the coffee shop, and they know that you may ask them that question. They don't want to be asked in front of people. They don't look bad. Trust me. They know. They know. They pay attention. And if you ask them the question in public and they don't have a good answer for it, they don't like it. But guess what? You have the right to know the answer to that question. And they have the right, they need to know the answer to that question. Instead of just putting their head, well, you know what I'm going to say, and pretending it doesn't happen. Because again, from earlier, we talked about silence, right? We can't be silent. Excuse me again. So, as we wrap up, screaming towards the door of halfway in this broadcast tonight. Man, going fast. I want to take a minute and make a said. If you're not following the PA Association of Public Cyber Charter Schools and the work that Marcus is doing over there, also worth noting that he does calls he's going to do them for the next few weeks on Mondays and Thursdays, or no, not Mondays. Today is Monday. Tuesdays and Thursdays to answer your questions about the data he's putting out. If you haven't seen the data, you need to go look at the data. It's very shareable information that hasn't been out there in the public eye. And sometimes, in some cases, they try to bury it. Just going to say it. And some still try to bury it. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, I'm not going to get off the rails there, but I'm often on those calls. I haven't been on last week because, well, I haven't been feeling good, but I'm hoping to be on tomorrow and Thursday this week, but we'll see how my life goes. I might not be able to talk tomorrow again. But nobody said it'd be easy. That's why we're here. Because it isn't easy. It isn't fair. Yeah. And I have somebody out there thinking, where are all the families? Why aren't they supporting this? Well, A, it's a holiday. B, it was last minute. C, this isn't easy. This isn't comfortable. It isn't supposed to be. But what they will see now is some families who share. And like I said, this is not the end. This is just the beginning of these. Again, that free 65, right? This is just the beginning. Back to that Malware report thing for a minute. Did a bunch of years, over 10. Missed like 8 shows over 10 years. Tuesday nights. Every week. Showed up. Did my best. Then showed up again. You think I'm going to go away that easily? Yeah, you're wrong. I ain't going anywhere. Ain't going anywhere. Got a fan question here, or a viewer question. Maybe. Just encouraging me to keep going, which is great. I do enjoy some encouragement from time to time. So let's pause here for a minute. What have we learned? What have we talked about? We've talked about families and the impact. We've also talked about the loss of community and what that looks like and how that impacts them and how that's going to impact going forward. hopefully these first 2 hours, and like I said, we're going to chunk this out into some other clips and manageable bits, has created a sense of curiosity, a sense of, yeah, I'm here to support my kid. I'm here to support Jim. That's great. I thank you for it. But man, I never thought about the community. Never thought about it as a family, what it looks like, how it impacts us. We know it makes it better for this kid, but sometimes we have multiple kids in a family, and it doesn't always work for all of them. That's great too, right? We got to remember, each student is different. Each student learns uniquely. We got to get out of the cookie cutter. Oh wait, we should do the little heart, right? Is that the heart? Okay. Not every kid fits. We shouldn't try to make every kid fit. But we do. Far too often. Go after it and be like, yeah. Okay. Cool. So at this point, I'm going to take a break for a few minutes. I've got a slide that I'm going to put up. Ready? You're going to look at this slide. Just look at it. Think about it. It's going to blow your mind. You're going to need a few minutes to process it. So as soon as I figure out where I did that at. Okay. Be back in a couple minutes. Need a break. Need to go. Yeah. Uh-oh. Guess who's back? Anybody see that startling statistic there? But Jim, you didn't adjust for inflation. Okay, sure. But why are we still spending... I'm sure it'll come out to spending more money for fewer students. Oh, but you want to pay teachers more. I haven't looked it up, but I bet you we're paying teachers about the same we did then. But yet we keep pouring more and more money into it. Okay, for this next hour, got another thing here for the ticker. Oh, I'm going back to candle happy advocacy. Because if you haven't signed up, join the newsletter. So you get my messages right off the top without having to wait for them on Facebook. I'm going to tease it here. Tease it right now. There is something coming to Candy Apple Advocacy that you're going to need to be paying attention to find. But once you find it, you'll love it. And somebody has already found it. And I haven't done it yet. They were asking questions about it. And I'm like, how do you know about that? Well, nevertheless. Okay. Starting hour number 3. Another clip here. Here we go. Parents are the largest voting bloc in the Commonwealth. Da-da-da, yes. Think about it. Parents, grandparents. Right? You see? Yeah. Not one side or the other. Together, they're, yeah. Okay? Think about it. We don't have to agree on every issue. We just have to agree on putting our kids first. Okay, back to the notes before I get in more trouble. And this one, this the first point here, kills me because, like I said, a couple years ago, I had the privilege of being in Washington, D.C. with the National Parents Union, with parents from across the country and some from some of the islands, right? So a broad spectrum of group of parents to be in the same room and have breakfast lists and lunches and communicate through classes and all the other stuff, right? The one thing I learned, and it was humbling and hard for me to take, is that I don't give myself enough credit for the work that I am doing. And the point here is parents often underestimate their own power. It's true. We all do. I mean, Jesus, some people organize scout troops, scout events, field trips, this, that, and the other, community get-togethers, right? That's real power. The power to hold that community together, the power to do this, the power to do that. We have voices. We have power. We just need to learn to not think we can use it in this form or that form. Which we can't. I mean, we have to realize that, hey, if we can get enough parents to run the concession stand for a sporting event, we can get enough parents to engage together on Facebook to cause a post to go semi-viral. Fair? Or we can get enough parents to call our lawmakers and make a real impact. With this, over the course of the last few months, I heard this number. It takes 3% of a group to start to speak up to make real impact. 3%. Seems higher than that, but it isn't, because far too often people stay silent. So a group of people with intent working together to get a fairly sizable group together, right? It does change things. So I need to bring my handy dandy calculator up here for a second because I didn't do the math before the show, because I should have. Okay, I did the math. 2,100 parents or family members is 3% of the 70,000 public cyber charter students in Pennsylvania. 2,100. Can we do that? Can I awaken 2,100 parents to make phone calls, send messages, emails, be in that community, be. So, okay, back to the math here. Hold on. That's 31 parents per county across the 67 counties. See where this is going? I guarantee you, unless you live under a rock, which I try to believe I do, but I don't, you know 31 parents in your community. Or in a community. Right? Your barber, your pastor, the clerk at the convenience store. You see how this spins really quick? Engaging these people. I can't remember who it was, but you want to create the 10 raving fans, right? Credit somebody who wrote a book about that I can't remember their name. Well, we need a little more than 10. Each of us. To get to that 21 threshold. 2,100. And quickly. So if you do know somebody tonight, reach out to them. If you know 30 people, reach out to them. This machine, if you will, this plane I'm trying to build and fly at the same time, doing things they say can't be done. We've got a long way to go and a short time to get there. But we're going to do it. Because I have no choice but to do it. Because when you wake up, like I did last year, after the budget was signed, woke up in the middle of the night in a panic because I let 65,000 students down. Because I couldn't rally enough help. I don't want to feel that again. I don't want anybody to feel that. If we come together and find numbers and let our voices be heard, we don't have to feel that. I don't want to feel that again. I don't want schools to close, teachers to get laid off. I don't. I don't want students losing the schools they value. Period. Oh, but it won't happen to my school. It won't happen here. It won't happen there. We'll be fine. Anybody remember the Titanic? It was fine until it wasn't. And then it was just too late. I have nothing else to say about that right now. Just going to let that sit there for a minute. Let you think about it before I bring this list back up. Education impacts nearly every household in the Commonwealth. Right? Again, maybe indirectly. It may be directly. But I think every person I've ever talked to wants their kids to be smarter than they were. And I've talked to some very smart people. Doctors and lawyers and all the big people. Right? Who want their kids to be smarter than they were. Not only better off, but smarter. More intelligent. So we can keep elevating. But, we all know that. I don't need to say that to you. You knew that. That's fair. Politicians, I wrote politicians, but political parties, all of those in that group. PACs, political parties, county-wide parties, this handful of people, regardless if it's an individual or a group, they watch organized groups very carefully. And I'm not trying to put an organized group together. I'm just trying to get parents pulling the same direction. But guess what? I know politicians are watching closely. I had several, when I sent out the invite, who said they're going to watch the stream again tonight. or sometime next week, because they weren't available tonight. Why? Because they know the message I'm delivering to you is a message they're going to get back. They want to be ready. Some want to help the cause. Some are out there trying to see what I'm saying so they can undercut the message. But guess what? The message I'm leaving you with tonight is tell your story, tell why your school is important to your kids. Period. They can't undercut that. They can't undercut a parent's emotion, a parent's story. They just can't. No money will fix it. That's why we need to get loud. Also, pay attention to your school board races. Ask your school board members questions. Be ready. They have been taught a certain thing. May be correct, it may not be correct. But ask them questions and ask them to find answers for you. I will say this when I'm talking about this. I speak to school board members often. And the question I ask them is, who sets the funding for the public cyber charter schools? And if they say the cyber schools do, they don't know. They just don't know the truth. They've been told something, lied to, boldface lied, straight up lied to, or worse, not told the truth. Yeah, okay, I'm just going to leave it there. But pay attention, ask questions. Engagement can't stop after election or after the budget. Again, I'm going to say this again, 365. Be as passionate about contacting your elected officials as you are about opening TikTok or Facebook or whatever social media platform you are. I showed it to you earlier. You can do it in under 30 seconds. And then you can still go scroll. Win-win, right? Help your kid and get the doom scroll. Perfect. We need to be there year-round. Hey, my kid went 2 for 4 tonight at baseball. Big night. So proud of him. Send. Now, yes, that's going to get put in the delete pile. But the person who reads that, they're going to build a connection with your child. It's like, some cases it's going to be the elected official, some cases it's going to be an office manager or whoever, right? But next week when your kid goes 3 for 4 and a home run, they're going to be excited for your kid. Because we are all humans at the end of the day. Just saying. It's true. Communities shift when families organize. Yes. Communities shift. We need to build families that are organized together. It doesn't have to be under my umbrella. Matter of fact, I prefer it not be under my umbrella. I prefer it be under your umbrella. Your local group of parents. Your Forest County group of parents. Your Dauphin County group of parents. Your Sullivan County group of parents. Why? Because at the end of the day, it is a statewide issue. And again, at the 7:30 half hour, I'm going to explain this to you why this is an issue statewide more than ever and why we need to protect the line in the sand. So if you're listening right now, stay tuned for the next hour and a half. Because that last half hour, I'm going to rip the curtains down. I'm going to say things they don't want me to say. Things I've been told not to say. But guess what? I'm going to say them. Because you need to hear it. And numbers become influence. Right? 4 families together. That's something. That's going to get somebody's attention. 6. Oh boy. Somebody over there is doing something. You need to start paying attention. 10. 20. Oh God. Our election that was won by 100 votes last time. Now there's 10 families together in my district who are asking me about this or wanting me to support that. 10 families. Oh wait, now they're up to 20. Yeah, 20 families together in a community talking about the same things and asking the same questions. It'll drive your local and your elected officials crazy, especially when you're coming together as that small community. If you live in a small community or if you want to go county level, it doesn't matter to me. The key is we just start putting those pieces together, putting together. It's like a Lego project, right? The first little piece does not seem like it's consequential, right? How many of you out there have put together a Lego project, got it all done, and then you look at it and you realize you put a piece in backwards? And it just looks horribly wrong. Yeah, I've done it. It's frustrating, right? That's okay though. We can overcome the piece in backwards because we have enough pieces built around it to help us make it look right. Man, that's tough. That's hard to hear, Jim. You expect us to come together in small communities and talk to each other. Yeah, I do. And I'm not great about that myself. And maybe that's because I'm so trying to paint the 30,000 foot view of how this needs to come together. And I'm losing the tree for the forest. Clean that analogy up somehow. Right? I see the forest. I don't see the trees. But we need trees. Trees, 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 trees. Happy little trees. Bob Ross. Thank you for being part of my life. I can't paint a lick still, but I've spent many hours listening to you try to teach me how to. Fred Rogers, thank you too. DMPBS. Okay, back to the point. It doesn't take much. We already talked about it. 2,100 of us in a community this size could make a major difference. Could make the difference between another funding cut, another wave of teachers getting laid off, support staff getting laid off, and schools closing. Am I being perfectly clear here? This isn't hyperbole. This isn't sensationalism. The last budget cut teaching positions. Okay? This budget is set to do more of the same. It's not the investment in education one party wants you to believe. You can't be investing in education while laying off teachers. Those things just don't work. It just doesn't. We have to be present, engaged. Now, today, through the year, but especially today. Because I said it earlier and I'll say it again. When you hear the budget deal's almost done, it's done. By the time they start voting on it, you're not going to change it. You're just not, folks. A million calls is not going to make them blow the whole thing up for you. A million calls this week, a million calls next week, while they're trying to put that deal together, will blow it up before it happens. It just will. Because there's too much political pressure. Especially in an election year. People don't want to be known for doing this. And unfortunately, some of them are going to wear this. And when I say wear this, I try not to normally be overly political and cause a stir when it comes to that stuff. I try to keep it on task. But there are some lawmakers who are going to have to wear the title of say they support public education, action is they lay off public school teachers. You're going to be seeing that from me a lot. Maybe not right now, but in the future, some lawmakers are going to have to live with that. And they don't want to. They want to pretend like that didn't happen. Lie about it. Say things, smoke and mirror it. That's why we need more and more engagement now, building that momentum so our families never have to look back again for the final time. And that's how numbers become influence. So I want to thank everybody for hanging out with me tonight as I continue to lose my voice for the third time in a week. Okay, then. I'm going to keep going until I can't talk. Or 8 o'clock. And there's going to be some people that hope I lose my voice before 7:30. When I promise to tell you the things they don't want you to know. So, stay tuned for that. Because I can promise you, if I don't do it at 7:30 tonight, I will do it. I'll explain it all to you. The things people don't want me to tell you, things people don't want me to say, I'm going to say it. Okay. The do more with less phenomenon. You hear this all the time. That classroom teachers have to do more with less. Schools have to do more with less. I have directly challenged several people who say the school is getting less because of public cyber charter schools. No, statewide, I haven't found a case where any district in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania over the last handful of years has got less money from the state. Haven't done it. And I've looked. I'm not saying I've looked at every district and every year the last few years, but I feel pretty comfortable saying I haven't found it. So to do more with less thing just is not true. People live in those districts who've had their taxes raised 2, 3, 4, 5 times in the last few years. And then their school board is telling them they have to do more with less. Really? Is that okay? Is that the message we want to be sending? First things first, we need to address the elephant, one of the elephants in the room. Schools face growing expectations yearly, right? We expect more from them. PDE expects more from them. The Pennsylvania Department of Education, more reporting, more this, more that, right? Districts expect more. Principals expect more. Parents expect more. But at what point do we have too many meetings? Do we have too much reporting? Reporting you try to bury. Looking at you, PDE. Reporting that is intentionally skewed. Again, looking at you, PDE. I know that's how it has to be. But it doesn't. Just saying. When we get enrollment numbers for day 1 in late May, when school started in September, how much trust do you have in PDE to process data well? I'll wait. 100%? 50%? Okay. I'll behave. Teachers are expected to do more with less. We talked about that a little bit ago. How they're expected to buy supplies, and stuff for their classrooms. And now it's starting to trickle over to families, right? You guys pay school tax. The average Pennsylvania learner gets $23,000 per student. But how many parents, send this to your friends, how many parents out there have to buy paper towels, pencils, Kleenex for their classroom? The per student rate keeps going up. The wish from parents and teachers go up. Where's the disconnect? $23,000 per student. That student, I don't know. Does that student use $60? That one student used $60 worth of Kleenex a year. Or $100 of paper, soap, paper towels, Kleenex. Does every student use $100 worth of that stuff every year? Are we kidding ourselves right now? And then you buy at volume because you have 700 students in your school, so you can buy stuff cheaper because you're buying 700 times 5 boxes of Kleenexes? Are we serious right now? And then if we actually got our act together and did it like school district wide, or heaven forbid, like county wide, or, oh my God, I'm going to cause somebody to have a fever dream right now, statewide, and use the purchasing power of all the schools, we can't afford Kleenex or paper towels or pencils. What are we doing? Seriously, what are we doing? Somebody needs to explain this to me, why I'm so in the head. Why this wouldn't work. Well, I've got a video about that too. I got some more talking points that I got to get off my chest. That's another video. And people definitely, that's not even part of the things they don't want me to tell you. This thing I'm talking about, lawmakers don't want to touch, much less hold a conversation about. Okay? We'll get to that. That's another video. I'll do that in a couple weeks. Hopefully when my voice is crisp, because I don't want to be dropping out. Okay? Technology, expectations keep growing. Right? I looked at this the other day. My daughter's getting into photography. So I busted out my old camera because we needed a memory card. And I knew it had an SD card in it. 8 gigabytes. Right? I went out to the store and bought her one with 64. Well, the 8 one works. I use it in my camera still when I'm out snapping around. But everything's got bigger. I mean, there are cases the bigger photo works, right? I get it. But for most cases, a 23 megapixel picture and a 5 megapixel picture, maybe 10, I don't know, are just fine. But yet, everything's growing. Here's another one that nobody wants to talk about. And there's a two-prong approach to this. Staffing shortage affect everybody. This isn't the real world, right? Oh, I'm sorry, your service is slow because we can't find people. Oh, your kid couldn't get the help they need because we didn't have an aide today. Really? Is that what we're going to go with? Seriously? That's not acceptable. Why can't we find people? Why? Maybe because you've run them off or you don't pay enough. Or both. People have been told that you have a toxic work environment. School, community, business. I'm not saying just schools in this case. Okay? Cleaning that up nicely. I know that all schools aren't toxic. Some have lead, some have mold, some have asbestos. So all schools aren't toxic, but there are schools, many schools, that are. Literally. Let alone mentally. Just saying. Just saying. Burnout becomes normalized? Yeah. Again, this isn't one of those schools only things, right? This is everywhere. Because you are that guy that shows up to work, doing the work of 3 people, trying to keep things going. It becomes quite the task. It just does. Okay. We all know about burnout. And what happens is, this one really hurts. Programs start to disappear. And the ones that do continue aren't as good as they were, or as robust, or as engaged. Think about it. Some people start to mail stuff in. If they're burnt out, do they show up and be the champion for that club, that program? No. They're just there because they made a commitment and they're trying to do their best, and they're trying, and I appreciate the try. But our kids don't need to try. They need everyone's best. Often. Nope, not often. Every day. I don't want my doctor or my kid's doctor being like, yeah, I really don't have my A game today. Kind of burnt out, kind of stressed. Yeah, kind of don't care. Let's try you on this medicine. Yeah, it probably interacts with something else, but yeah, somebody will catch it and maybe somebody else will figure it out. It's okay. Do you hear that? Do you want that doctor? Or do you want that teacher? He says, I taught for 10 minutes. They should get it. It'll be okay. I'm going to sit here, give them a chance to do their homework. Work on my whatever, because I don't have time because I'm teaching another class. It's serious, man. It's serious. And eventually less becomes impossible. And that's when we start losing things. Like music programs and art programs and all that stuff. Right? That's not good. We start accepting less, we'll get less. You get less, you'll accept less again. And they'll keep cutting until what? You give up, or there's nothing left to cut. And then you have to give up. Ooh, I said the quiet part out loud. More on that in a little bit. Okay. Again, I should have put these should have took some time and put them in order, but here we go. Our next one. The emotional cost on families. The emotional cost on families. Kind of touched on all of these, but we're going to put them together in one pretty little package here. Families carry invisible stress. Parents, the kids, the pets. There's a bunch of invisible stress that nobody wants to talk about. Nobody knows how to talk about. Fighting systems, like fighting for your kid's school, is absolutely draining of your energy and your time and your resources. Yeah, it is. It's not easy. It's not for the weak, but it is for everybody. And you know what? If everybody pitched in, it wouldn't be so hard. I digress. Transportation issues impact entire households. Say, because the school, you went from walking to riding a bus, now you have to be on that spot, and now you have to be here, here, and here because of different things. It's tough. Schedules are tough. I hate them, but I have one every day. Here's another thing. This one's going to cause a stir. IAP and support, student support battles are intentionally exhausting. Intentionally exhausting. IEP and support battles with some special education departments are intentionally exhausting to families. What does it look like? It looks like, not returning the email, not doing what the IEP says, making it hard to open the IEP, which you have a right to do at any point. Don't listen to them. More on that, like I said, coming down over the summer as I try to get more balanced in what I talk about. They're intentionally exhausting. They're intentionally trying to not do the right thing in some cases. because doing the right thing is work. And some just don't want to put in the work or the effort into tracking or whatever it may be. But you need to demand it. Stand for your child. Make sure they're getting what they deserve. And if you don't know, ask. And if you don't like that answer, ask somebody else. Because we've all, well, I don't want to say all again, but parents with special, good, bad, and indifferent. So a lot of this will help you navigate. I know I will. My wife was great at it. She was great at it. Is great at it. She'll be great at it again. Don't give up. Don't let the school win. Your kid needs what they need and shouldn't get anything less. Period. Your child is not less than. Somewhere, and I felt attacked. Let me tell you about it. Because the challenge from this group was go down your messages or your Facebook message, the number of people that you could go have a cup of coffee with and be back home in under half an hour. Because we all have friends from across the state or from this, swim team or travel team or, But how many of those people are local enough that you could have that cup of coffee with in an hour or half an hour? And I was very frustrated when I realized that it's 90% that I can't. I always tell people I spend a lot more time in Pittsburgh or Cleveland or Harrisburg than I do in my own town. My back. I noticed that disappeared, but I hope I'm back. Live, unscripted, uncut, raw. All these things that I promised it to be. Because I can promise you, if I was going to cut this and do this recorded, my voice would probably sound better because I would be feeling better. But guess what? It doesn't matter. Here we are. Burnout, the fatigue, the invisible stress affects your advocacy for your children. It affects your advocacy for yourself. Again, felt attacked. Self-reflection in these two moments hurts. So I don't take care of myself enough. Just feels attacked. Last one here, community sport matters. Hillary Clinton famously said it takes a village to raise a child, and some people laughed at her. Even more today than it did then. It takes a village to raise a child. And when I first heard that years ago, I laughed at it. Now as a parent, as an old guy, I'm not old, but some days you feel really old. You realize that it does take a village. Parents, community members, neighbors, other adults in your life, other community members in the children's life, right? Again, they do pay attention to the barista at the coffee shop or the retail worker who hates their job, right? And then they sure as hell don't want to be doing that when they're older in this town. Not to forget to mention the coaches and the directors and all the other extracurricular activities, all the things you do. All those adults are part of your community. Good, bad, or indifferent. It's hard. Something we don't want to look at. Something we don't want to face. But it's there. Let's see. I've got a few more things here. Ooh. Boy. Okay, folks. If I had 5 minutes with every lawmaker, what would I do? What would I say? The first thing you got to realize is you got to listen. Before you assume you know what their feelings are. Just because they belong to a political party does not mean they share those beliefs. They may vote with the party on those beliefs. Doesn't mean they believe what they say. The other thing I would tell them is that families are paying attention. Just because you don't hear from them does not mean they're not listening. They're not watching. They're not reading the news. They're not... They know. Okay? Even local people or statewide people or state representatives and state senators, families do watch. As people constantly say they don't pay attention to politics or the news, those are the ones who are paying attention. Why? They just don't want to talk about it. I mean, politics is so polarizing right now. They just don't want to talk about it. So they say they don't watch it. They don't pay attention to it. I'm calling their bullshit. They do watch it. They just don't want to talk about it. That's fine. I get it. That's why when you see me talking about issues, there's one issue. It's education. I stay in my lane. Pennsylvania education. Every once in a while I'll dabble out into post-secondary or other states, but most of the time you'll find me between these lines. Good, bad, or indifferent. So for point one, I tell lawmakers, families are paying attention. They're dangerous. They know what is going on. Next thing I tell lawmakers, stop treating parents like enemies. And somebody out there who's watching this knows who I'm talking to. Because they've been fed so much crap repetitively for years that real parents don't know what they're talking about. Not saying that. I know it. Because I've seen it with my own 2 eyes talking to lawmakers. No, there's no bullying issue in my schools, my districts and my schools. The superintendents never tell me about any problems with bullying. Matter of fact, they say the kids are pretty well behaved overall. Then you start to try to tell that lawmaker, well, my superintendent doesn't tell me that, so I'm going to lean with them. You know why that is? Because that superintendent has that relationship. See how this all interweaves? So that's why you need to build that relationship. Even if you aren't a public cyber charter parent, if you're district school, you need to build that relationship too. Because at some point, it's going to look different for you. See you pretty soon. We're going to lay that all out. Another thing I tell lawmakers is education is not one size fits all. Kids don't learn cookie cutter ways. They don't all learn the same. We talked about that. Budget choices, budget cuts, budget funding increases have human impacts on real families. real students. Yeah. It may seem easy to cut $5 million here, $5 million there. It is, right? We can all say, yeah. Hey, yeah, I'll cut out going out to eat once a month. I'll just cut it. It's okay. Until you're in that month, right? And you realize that, damn it, that night I was supposed to cut, I'm just too tired from running the baseball and all these other things to cook. Yeah. Oh, but I already cut it out of the budget, so the money isn't there. So now budget cuts have consequences. Just because they don't hurt you directly doesn't mean they don't hurt. There's these three things here. If I leave you with nothing else tonight, if I'm talking to you, the lawmaker, I want you to hear these things. Transparency matters. And I'm not talking about hearings that are pre-scheduled and pre-screened to tell you what you want to hear. I'm talking to you about hearing the other side, the things you don't want to hear. Parents want partnership. We want what's best for our community, for our kids, especially our kids. We want what's best for them. Kids should come before politics every time. Kids aren't bargaining chips in your political budget game. Doing the right thing is doing the right thing, doing the right thing. Kids should come before politics, before party. You can vote against your own party. If you're doing the right thing, you're doing the right thing. If you believe it with your heart and your soul, you can do it. And you should do it. But you don't want to be a black sheep. You don't want to be this. You don't want to be primaried because you didn't vote with the party all the time. Da 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 da. Okay, keep going with it. Yeah, keep going with it. It's okay. It'll all work out. While we're talking to lawmakers, I sort through the notes because I'm down to the last few here. What I wish lawmakers would ask families. Okay, Representative, I know you're watching. Get your paper. Get your damn pen. Write them down. What is actually working for your child's education? And conversely, folks, I want you telling your lawmakers the answers to these questions, so you're not off the hook. What barriers does your child face daily? And how can we work together to remove them? Oh boy, this next one. This one never comes up. What support do parents need? How do we make parents and education work better together? Yikes. Why do families switch schools? I mean, we've talked about it tonight, but people need to hear it a lot more than they do. This one, when I wrote this one down in the middle of the night, it stung because I do live this often. What fears keep parents awake at night? I'm looking at the chat room right now, and I bet you I should see at least 2 or 3 of them right now. What fears keep parents awake at night? Be brave. You can post it because we're all feeling them. We all know them. What opportunities matter most? The opposite of that. Foreign languages for a kid who doesn't want to learn a foreign language doesn't matter. What programs can you add to impact lives? How would you trust parents more? instead of lobbyists or special interest groups? What would? What would make you stand up and say, hey, I need to trust my parents, my voters, more than I trust the people who come in here for the flashy shows and all the leverage that I gave them. They're not my voters. Far too often, lawmakers listen to people that aren't their voters instead of listening to their voters. To the people that sent them to Harrisburg, sent them to their local office. Far too often, they listen to somebody else. And that has to change, and it has to change today. But it's going to change because we are taking the action to make them listen. To listen, to be uncomfortable. Not literally, figuratively. Having difficult conversations. Making them accountable. Pointing out things to them. Building that relationship with them so you can have that uncomfortable conversation. Like I said, it's a respect game. It's a relationship game. It's the long game. 365 days. We can't wait until the budget deal is already together to act. We have to act today, tomorrow, and every day. Okay? I know it hurts, but we've already talked about it. So, another thing. This is for my parents. I want your vote. I'm going to lay out what do I got here? 7-8 bullet points about this. So, tell me which one of these feels the most accurate. And kids' safety and violence in schools. That's so. Yes, I talked about that a little bit ago about fallout. The tornado drills and the fallout or the nuclear bomb drills where you get under your desk, to now having somebody walking around firing ammunition. And we're supposed to help have our kids and us feel safe for schools. It blows my mind, but back to the point here. One thing Harrisburg doesn't understand about parents kind of hits off the other one a little bit here, but we're going to make sure we get this out there. Parents notice more than people think. Because again, parents are the biggest voting bloc in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Another thing people don't understand and don't realize, families talk to each other constantly. Your kids may be talking to each other, and the parents may go weeks without talking to that other parent. Kids are constantly talking. Sometimes the parents talk and the kids don't. Frustration is building quietly. Here in a little bit, I will boil it over for you. And give you my crystal ball of what's going to happen. I don't like it. I don't want it to come true, but I'll give you my crystal ball here in a little bit. My voice hasn't given up yet, folks. So the things they don't want me to say, I'm going to say. Parents remember who actually listened to them and took the time to reply to them. I have a list of emails from representatives who took the time to reply, or their office reply. And I know there are offices out there that just won't. They don't care. They do not care. And I'll give you one better. This line pisses me off, and I'm going to say it directly. Reach out to your representative and tell them how you feel. The state budget and the mechanisms that go around that impact my family and impact families in your district just as much as if I lived in your district. You represent the people of Pennsylvania when you vote on that budget, not just your district. It's big. Imagine that. The laws that you pass don't just impact your district. They impact everybody. 70 on the interstate impacts everybody who drives the interstate. We have to end that political shit. Your decisions in Harrisburg impact everybody. You should listen to your voters in your district first, and then you should listen to people, and then you should listen to the groups that come into your office who have no interest but their own interest. And they're out there. I'll leave that be. The budget decisions hit kitchen tables or the back seats of cars or family discussions, wherever they may take place. This isn't 1950 anymore. I know kitchen table discussions aren't what they used to be. But these discussions, these conversations, still happen. Parents want transparency and honesty. And far too often, we get party lines and spin. I'll remember this when I go to vote. No, you won't. You're going out there to vote along party lines. 99% of you. Prove me wrong. Stand up for children once in a while. Across party lines. I'll believe it when I see it. Actions speak louder than words. Yeah. I'm not getting invited back to that office. Or any office after this. That's okay. I'd rather parents out there know what's going on than have some prestige of being able to visit lawmakers. Because it isn't prestige. It's what we have to do. Last point on this. One thing I wish Harrisburg doesn't, or one thing Harrisburg does not understand about parents. Education is personal. It matters to me as a parent. It matters to my child. It is personal. It is not some line item that you get to debate. It's not buying another building or remodeling a building. It is the future. It is future voters. It is present day voters. They remember. Oh God, do they remember. And the children that have had their life disrupted by your decision, well, good luck. That day is coming where those students who lost their teachers, who will lose their schools if this next budget goes through, they'll remember. And they'll vote. Sooner than later. And with the way you guys stay in office, because there's no term limits, well, good luck. They will remember. And if they don't remember, I will remind them. This little thing you did last year with the budget, the year before with the budget, what you're trying to do this year, isn't going away. Just because you're on to the next does not mean the baggage of last year and the year before get dropped off at the station. Sorry. You just can't bounce around and say the next great thing. Hope you're ready. Okay, we roll into the last hour. 7 o'clock. Hopefully I have enough to drink so I can make fruit of all this. Okay, here we go. For this last hour, I'm going to change the scroll. If you haven't signed up to Candy Apple Galaxy, big Candy Apple, the Candy Apple logo behind you, behind me, you should. Like I said, a lot of great information. A lot of the stuff I'm saying or will be saying comes through there. But the last one I'm going to bring up tonight is my baby, Mallard.com, where you find stuff that isn't educational related. You learn a little bit more about me, which is scary, honestly. I don't know why anybody would want to do that, but we're going to put that up there so you can learn more about me. Learn some. This is where I go to have those deep thoughts or tell those quick stories. They don't really, well, sometimes they spill over. Sometimes they don't. Okay. We've been talking about it. Now, we're going to talk about it again. But this time in a cute little package. What happens when parents actually organize? Lawmakers start paying attention. If the lawmaker directly isn't paying attention, somebody in their office is paying attention. Right? 5 families in their district. I guess I need to back up. I've had multiple lawmakers in either chamber tell me that it takes 5 phone calls, emails, or whatever for their office to take notice that this may become an issue. 5. From 5 different people. Okay? So if 5 families come together and start talking about something, they've met that threshold for some offices. That's scary. Because that's how little our lawmakers hear from us about issues that matter to us. 5. So yes, you may think your email doesn't matter, and in some offices it kind of does get swept under the rug, but in other offices, they see it and they pay attention to it. And guess what? If more people start messaging, some offices have the threshold of maybe 10, right? But if 10 families start emailing and coming together, it doesn't matter, right? At some point, whatever the number is, if we start working and paying attention and engaging, we'll hit it. Like I told you earlier, based off some things I've heard, 2,100 people engaged would tip it over. Out of a Commonwealth of millions of people. I hope you learned earlier when Bella was on. It doesn't have to be you as a parent. It can be your student, if you feel comfortable with that. It can be your aunts and uncles and grandparents. Whoever. Engage them. Here's another thing we need to think about. And I see it far, far, far too often. The media, local newspapers, local television stations, don't want to cover bad things about their school districts. It's just facts. Because I told you the 7 o'clock hour is going to be where it hits. Local school districts for the newspapers and the TV stations and the radio stations for media, right? Or drivers of their content. Friday night football. Basketball. Yeah, when you think about that, right? They have a vested interest in keeping their relationship good with that school district. Just saying, think about it. Not saying all newspapers are that way, or all radio stations, or all TV stations. Sometimes stories are just too big to not cover. But do they cover the smaller stuff? Or just the football stuff? Do they cover the school board meetings? There are some newspapers, some places, that you'll read all about all the football games, and even the junior varsity football games, even the 8th and 9th grade football games, or the 7th and 8th grade, or whatever it may be. You'll read about all the extracurriculars Sometimes you won't find a thing about the damn board meetings. Pay attention. Once you start paying attention, you'll notice it more. And once you notice it more, it'll make you more mad. You know how I know that? I noticed it. Makes me mad. Information spreads fast. I think we've learned that from the PA Association of Public Charter Schools. We've seen it. Some of those posts pop and go absolutely crazy in communities. And again, I plan on joining those calls that Marcus is doing for that association. They're Tuesday nights and Thursday nights. They're wonderful. It's good to see parents. It gives me an opportunity to connect with parents. Gives you a chance to connect with other parents. Gives you a chance to learn. They're phenomenal. So if you haven't joined one or two, feel free to come back or come. It's pretty cool. Pressure builds constantly. If you keep pressing, it's like a diamond, right? We've all heard that. Pressure on a coal turns it to a diamond. As parents gain confidence, they learn to speak out, speak together. Communities become connected. And when communities become connected, change happens. It isn't just possible. It happens. When communities connect, things regionally change. When a lot of communities connect, things statewide change. I'm not asking you to be more than you can be. And I know you're one voice. I'm one voice. There are dozens of voices listening right now. Right? But hey, you don't have to be the person in front. You could be the person sharing out the information. You could be the person saying, hey, like that message I got a little bit ago on my Facebook. Hey, you're doing a good job. Thanks for sharing. Keep up the good work. Being the cheerleader. Because you're being part of it. Helping move the ball forward is part of it. Right? Being silent is being no part in it. And that's where, my friends, we get in trouble. When we opt to say nothing, do nothing, and worse, expect nothing. We have to expect more because we need more. Oh boy, let's see. Next fun little video, it's fun list I have here. How many lists do I have left? Oh, I have 3 lists left, and then bingo, bango, I can put the bow on all of this, and hopefully my voice holds out long enough so I can do it all. Go take another drink, because we're in the home stretch. We got this. This is for our parents out there who haven't made the choice yet, who may be in that district and on the fence, or maybe they're in the district and they need a swift kick in the ass. This is why some families feel trapped. Well, if you think about it, right? Well, you could send your kid to private school. School choice has always been a thing. Okay, let's look at that. Let's drill down on that. Can your family afford to send your kid to that private school? Can you get your kid to that private school? No? Well, then just deal with the public school you got. Or move. God, if I heard move one more time, if I had $1 for everybody that told me to move, or a couple $1,000 for everybody that told me to move, hey, I would have moved. Moving isn't always the option. That is a disgusting answer from lazy people. Saying, call it what it is. Housing impacts educational options. It does. Right? And that's why I'm here tonight spending all this time encouraging parents of public cyber charter students to get engaged. Because this school, this type of school, is the great equalizer. It meets you where you are. If you're in that $1 million house or that $40,000 house, it meets you where you are. Just saying. I don't know who needed to hear that. Hopefully it wakes somebody up. The other thing families worry about is retaliation from their school districts. And God, I've seen it. Families do the right thing for their children, and the school calls them, sends police officers to their houses, threatens to arrest them. I wish I was lying about that, but I'm not. That is 100% true. And in Pennsylvania. I'm not talking about somewhere else, Arizona. I'm talking about in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Maybe in your school district. Or maybe the neighboring school district. That's why parents need to come together. Okay. Also, fear of the unknown keeps parents quiet, keeps people quiet, right? Change is hard. Damn it, I'll say it right out. Change is hard. If it was easy, everybody would do it. But sometimes you need to accept that it's hard and just go for it and make the difference. Another thing, parents feel unheard. They're trying to do the right thing for their kid. They're trying to do the right thing. They're trying to work through the building principal. They're trying. They're going to the teacher. They're trying. Right? And they have to try for 6 months. Right? They try. They work for the building principal. They work for the superintendent. They try. But nothing changes. They just keep trying. Well, sometimes you just need to make the change. Back to that other point here. Systems feel overwhelming. Right? So as in a district, you've got like a homeroom teacher. You've got all the other teachers at the high school level. Who do you contact? Can you contact them? Everybody says you can contact them, but let's be real. Can you contact them? If they have a full slate of classes, when do you talk to them? And then we expect them to stay over to talk to you? That's not right either. Okay. I'll behave. We have to realize that though, right? Parents are working in tight boxes. Oh, or worse, right? When the teacher can contact you, you can't be contacted. How do you help your kid then? How does it get resolved? And I can promise you, a phone call is better than an email. And an in-person visit is better than a phone call. Just is. Even in 2026, the human touch still matters. How things get done, how relationships are built, it all connects, right? How much time would it take to email somebody back and forth compared to talking to somebody on the phone and helping them explain where you're at? And how much better can that be done in person? Just asking the questions here. And then the other question is, right, so you're in person. You're at a meeting. How many people? Now maybe I'm gonna say something I shouldn't. It's gonna get me in trouble with some people. How many people have been on a Zoom meeting? With the same group of people that you've been in a personal room with. Okay? And how worse do the meetings on Zoom feel? A lot. I've come to learn this. I thought Zoom was great. And it is great. Don't get me wrong. Zoom meetings have a place. and a time, but they'll never replace the in-person meeting. And let me explain to you why. If you've been in those in-person meetings, what happens? You have those conversations beforehand. Hey, how's your kid? Hey, did you ever get that sorted out? A couple months ago, you were talking about, I ran into the same thing. Who did you call? Right? Those personal connections. You don't do that on Zoom. Worse, on Zoom, you have the icebreakers that nobody likes. There's 9 characters on the screen right now, numbered 1 to 9. And which one is how you feel today? I don't care. It doesn't change how I feel today. And me telling people how I feel today isn't going to be helpful to this meeting. Facts. Sorry. If I'm frustrated or mad, that's not a good headspace for me. And you knowing that isn't going to make it better. Right? Because then you're going to try to manipulate that situation. But if I'm just sitting there, you don't know, and we have a good meeting, we have a good meeting. That's the part of meetings in person that get lost. The side conversations. We've all been in those meetings where seemingly loses control of the room. And trust me, as a person who runs those meetings, there are times I have lost control of the room. And guess what? I hear meaningful conversations with 2 people there, 2 people there, and 2 people down there. All related to the topic at hand, but those 2 people need to have that engagement and pay that feedback in that moment. So do they lose the room, or do they let the room do what it needed to do? But on Zoom, you sit there and talk. You have a monopoly. There are some people that you never hear from on Zoom meetings. You see them there, and they just sit. And you know full well, if you were in the room with them, they would have said something. Okay. That's the value of human connection. Human meeting. Okay. So we're down to 2 here. Let's, okay. Down to 2 here. Drum roll. The most common myths about public cyber schools or public cyber school students. We're going to go through them here. Cyber families are lazy. Far from it. Often cyber families are the ones out doing the dance, the travel team, right? They needed the flexibility to succeed with their students, not in spite of their school. I can't tell you how many cyber parents I've talked to who have taken that trip to Gettysburg, Harrisburg, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Erie, because their student is learning about X, the Civil War in history, and they're taking them to Gettysburg so they can see and experience Harrisburg as they're learning about it. Does that sound lazy to you? They're more engaged. They're not lazy. That ties to the next myth. Parents are lazy. Well, it's easier for them, right? They can have the kid at home, whatever. The parents don't care. They're just trying to, whatever. So wrong, right? These cyber charter parents are more involved with their kids' education on a daily basis than some people are in a year. I see it every day, folks. What about the students that need structure? You can have that structure. And some do. A lot do. They have the class at 9, 10, 11. And they go. Just like they would if they're in school. And there are other kids who don't need that structure and who need that break between classes. It works. Many kids, not all kids, I'll say this, even though sometimes it seems like I don't understand this. Many kids thrive online. Not all kids would. Many do, though. Just like some kids don't thrive in district schools. No cookie cutters, folks. No cookie cutters. Flexibility is not easier. I hear this one a lot. Well, if the kid can do their work whenever, they just won't do it. Which may be true, if you don't hold them accountable for their actions. Oh boy. Right? Holding them accountable? That sounds like work for a parent. It is. And guess what? I'd rather be accountable to my kid, making sure they're doing the work, than just show up in class, and if they show up in class enough, they pass. Hey, it's true. There are some high schools out there, if the kid shows up and turns in whatever worksheet they're working on that day, that's good. The test scores don't matter. Just the volume of the work. It's disgusting, but that's all. Okay, so there's all that stuff, right? One model does not fit all. Some kids learn hands-on. Some kids learn from books. Heaven forbid, some kids learn from seeing. Not doing, not reading, but watching that YouTube video. I know. Incredibly frustrating. Doesn't make sense. Until it does. Until it does. And it does sometimes. Families often give up more being a cyber family. Right? Again, taking that trip, being present in the education, talking to teachers, checking in, make sure their students doing the work. Often, for you outsiders who don't know, it may seem more stressful, which it isn't, once you learn how to make these things work. But again, if you don't want to take the time to learn it or understand it, you just think whatever's better blindly. It is. Yeah, anyways. Okay. Off to our last sheet of thoughts here, which ties in, but we're going to keep this one tight, and I'm going to then explain some reality to you. So, right now, well, hold on, I got to get the camera out of the sun here a little bit. Sun's moving, it's setting. The future of education. The issues that we hear a lot about. Let's talk about some of them. AI learning. AI is already changing learning. Yes. It is. Lawmakers are behind on this. Surprise, surprise. Flexibility will become more and more important. It will. As we want our kids to be more and more engaged, the flexibility of how we get there becomes more and more important. Just saying. Hybrid education will grow. Clutch my pearls. Yes, hybrid education. Meaning the kids go to school some days and learn online others. It's a thing. It'll be a bigger thing. Career readiness is evolving fast, but not fast enough. Folks, it's just not evolving fast enough. It's not keeping up with the real demands of the workplace. And the other part of career readiness that we need to talk about is having kids ready to work. Understanding all that goes into it. And also understanding how to balance a checkbook, pay their utilities. Right? There's a lot of things that we forget, that we overlook, until we have to learn them the hard way as adults. That we would have been better served learning checkbook math than Algebra 2. Or savings or interest or credit card debt. Yeah. That sweater feels good, even though I'm paying 30% interest on it. Over the next couple of years, because I'm only paying minimum payments, I've paid for it 5 times. But, whatever. Nobody ever taught me. Yeah. Real world stuff is sneaking up on us fast. Students are learning more differently today than they have ever before. And that's because we're teaching them different ways than we ever have before. One-size-fits-all education will be gone. It'll go the way of the one-room schoolhouse. See, what people don't realize, we haven't always done it this way. Right? We had one-room schoolhouses. Then we started to divide them a little bit. And then we had community schools. And then we went to bigger schools. And now the world is shifting again. And we're doing cyber schools and hybrid schools. It makes people uncomfortable. Right? The people that didn't want to give up their one-room schoolhouse. Right? There they are now, not wanting to give up their community school. Something to think about. The world changes. We develop. What worked 10 years ago does not work today. And what works today will not work in 10 years. Or how many ever years you want to put on it. 15, 20, 50 years. Things change. Change is hard. I know it. It just is. But either you can accept change or you'll get your horse and buggy, okay? That was a change too. Some people didn't understand it. Some people didn't want it. But guess what? It still happened. Okay. And the thing that parents are wanting more than ever is connection and customization. We want to know what our kids are doing, what the grades are. Okay. And some schools are great at this, right? They have the virtual grade books and all this, that, and the other, which is cool. Very cool. Think about this, though. I'm not that old, even though I say I am. I graduated 23 years ago. If I wanted my grade in whatever class, it wasn't readily available to me or my teacher. It was in a book. Some of them were transitioning to computers at that point and keeping it digitally. Big swath of them, though, were still doing it old-fashioned, paper and pen. So you'd have to wait for them to have the time to figure it out. If they wanted to. If they felt the need to. If you were close enough to failing that it might make a difference. Now, if you were doing well in the class, some teachers just blow you off. Because, hey, you're passing, you're doing great. Don't worry about it. Okay? Now, like I said, digital grade books, we have access. Big change. Bigger changes are happening, though. And holy smokes, the glitter on my computer screen right now is unbelievable. Because it just caught the light, and I don't know where it all came from, but holy smokes. This is just dazzling right now. Okay. So, if you haven't went to Mauer.com, go ahead. Take a few minutes here. Do that. I've been teasing for the whole length of this that I am going to pull back the covers. This is the fear. This is the reality they don't want you to hear. This is what could become of Pennsylvania education. I am going to say some quiet things out loud. I'm going to straight out tell you there are people who out there in positions who don't want me to tell you this. Not because I'm wrong, but because I'm right. Uh-oh. What did I forget to do? Oh, yeah. See? First world problems there. And I'm not saying that out of ego either. I'm just saying this because I think you deserve to see what I'm seeing. Having been engaged in education, and education law, and education policy in the Commonwealth for the last 6 years, 7 years. I owe it to you. I owe it to you to explain why this is the moment we have to connect and have to engage. Why I thought before we could get the budget changed, but we can't. I know that now. I've heard that from enough people. I hear from enough people that parents aren't engaging enough. Okay? But what happens if parents don't engage? And we get another cut this year. We lose schools, we lose teachers. Right? You following me? It's bad. May not lose our school, but there will be schools closing. Get another cut next year. Okay? How many ever cuts it takes doesn't matter. This is the part they don't want me to tell you. They're not going to close your school. They're not. Lawmakers aren't going to close any public cyber charter schools. They're just not going to do it. What they're going to do is cut and cut and cut until it becomes impossible for them to operate. And the law will still be on the book that we can operate public cyber charter schools and charter schools. It just won't be to a point where you can afford to pay a teacher. Okay? They'll just keep cutting until it becomes you can't afford teachers, you can't afford the curriculum, you can't afford this, that, and the other. And no longer makes sense or dollars. You'd have to bleed through the nose to do it, and nobody has that much capital to do. Okay? Once the statewide public cyber charter schools are gone, that leaves us with what? Private, homeschool, charter schools. Okay? There are some few connected private schools who have enough weight maybe to stay in the game. So let's address private schools first. But there are plans to make it harder and harder for them to operate. And how would you do that? Handicap accessibility. I see you out there, private school, that isn't handicap accessible. Right? Or remember how I told you about toxic schools, and I'm just talking about the lead, asbestos, and mold in them? Having to eradicate all of that. Yeah, I don't know if you priced it recently, but getting rid of asbestos isn't cheap. And in a school building that, has it all over the place, yeah, your private school just went out of business. There are a million ways to do that too. The death by a million cuts to private schools. Okay? Am I scaring you yet? Are you paying attention? Because they've just million cut public cyber charter schools out of the picture. That takes that statewide community out of the picture. Now we've done private schools. Made it more difficult for them or impossible for them. Right? Are you listening? Are you paying attention? Okay. So that leaves us with homeschool and charter schools. The next low-hanging fruit is charter schools. Brick and mortar charter schools. They have already authorized by the school district, so at any point, go look it up in Philadelphia, they can just close them for the wind blew the wrong direction. Right? And they only have to face that small community of those charter school parents. But they have all the leverage at the end. They want to close it, they'll close it. I mean, it may be uncomfortable for a minute, but it'll go away again. Most often it does. Okay. Fine. I will just homeschool my kids. Oh, but now you need to check in with a social worker at the public school to make sure your kid's okay. Oh, you need to report back to the school about this. You need to file this. You need to do that. You see where this is coming? As much red as in that apple right there, or on my shirt. They will add red tape to homeschooling. To the point where it isn't worth it for parents to do it. It becomes way more work. Way more documentation. Way more reporting. You see where I'm headed with all this, folks? You say, oh, Jim, you're just kind of talking out your... Look. Open your eyes. See how easy it would be. Add a few more regulations to private schools. Homeschools. Even charter schools. Public brick and mortar charter schools. And how difficult some of those regulations could be. And make things just go away. The lawmakers don't have to close them, right? They can just make enough red tape to make it go away. Slowly, right? Like with the cyber charter schools, they've been cutting a little bit. And then eventually, there's no little bit left. Because you can't hire the teachers. You can't have the curriculum. You can't have this. You can't have that. There is a number that comes where you just can't operate. Okay? So now we've eliminated public cyber charter schools, public charter schools, private schools, and homeschools. I just got rid of all of school choice fairly quickly. And you don't think that's going to happen? It won't happen. It won't happen here. It won't happen to us. Often I hear one type of school choice. Private schools, home schools, charter schools, cyber charter schools. I'll say, well, it won't happen to us. We've got too much of a vocal advocacy to let that happen. Do you? Because I can tell you, I pay attention and I don't see any group being vocal enough. Or being vocal, some cases, being vocal at all. Okay? Just telling you, I'm calling it how I see it. Okay? It's scary. Because a few more cuts, a few more bills, school choice in Pennsylvania, poof, gone. Why do you think Shapiro hasn't signed that tax credit bill? 31 other states have signed it. He hasn't. Just saying. Look at the pieces that are right in front of you. Federal tax dollars for Pennsylvania taxpayers that could be here, that aren't here. Why not? Big plan. Okay, Jim. You may be right about all this stuff. All these little red tapes, little cuts, little nicks. Okay? But I'm a public school parent. My kid goes to a school district. Okay? Great. Let's learn one thing right now. Back in, I think, in the 1960s, there used to be 1,000 school districts. I think we talked about this earlier. There's either 499 or 500 currently. I can't remember if it was this session or last session, but it was out there. So you know it's coming. Because I've been told far too many times, the first time you see something, it never passes. It never goes anywhere. Just because it comes a picture on the wall. Right? The canary down the well. Becomes, it's a process. Little paper cuts. right? Okay. So what I'm mentioning is there is a proposal to investigate what 100 school districts in Pennsylvania looks like. Okay, 100. Down from 500. There are currently 203 state representatives. So that's half of the number of districts for schools as state representatives. Do I have your attention yet? Okay. And once you get to 100, now you've really done something. Because you've eliminated all the choice, all this red tape, all the funding cuts, right? Now we're down to 100 districts. You've consolidated power. You have 100 school boards. You have 100 superintendents. Right? And once you get to that point, it'll come a tipping point, right? Where less is more. Because if you could combine 2 more school districts, you as a superintendent, well, you can do the math. If you do it before the other guy does it to you, you can do the math. Well, we could keep him on as an assistant superintendent, but now that he has this bigger area, well, you could do the math. Who cares if the kids have to ride an hour and a half to school? We're saving the taxpayers money by only having one superintendent. Even though we're paying them 10 times as much as we did before when we had all these smaller districts. You think I'm wrong? You think I'm crazy? Trust me. I've talked about this before at length with people. And that is often the feedback I immediately get. You don't know what you're talking about. That would never happen. But why wouldn't it happen? Are there enough people to stand up and stop that from happening? I don't know. I know I've drawn the line in my sand, and I'm fighting like hell for my public cyber charter school. That's all I can control, and that's all I know, and that's all I'm doing. I deeply hope that I can get that 2,100 parents to wake up, to realize they have to draw that line, and they have to be behind me and others as we fight. And we hold elected officials accountable. It's election year. Now's the time, before the budget passes, to be engaged, to speak up, to tell your truth. Don't be political. Tell your truth. Tell your kids' truth. My kids' truth is they were bullied, had anxiety, had medical issues, weren't getting what they deserved. So I had to make a change. Did I knock through the system and try to make changes? Try to get what they needed? Try to work through an IEP, work through the special education department, work through transportation? Yeah. Me and my wife spent a full school year plus trying to do the right thing for our kids. Meanwhile, we were never going to be able to do the right thing for our kids because there was no interest from the district in allowing us the right things for our kids. They would say the right things and then do nothing. You'd point it out, they may do it for a day, a week. It'd backslide faster than some people at a buffet. Okay? So, I'm not asking you to be me. Matter of fact, I prefer not to be me myself. I'd prefer to be in the shadows. Right? But being in the shadows isn't what this moment calls for me. in this moment when I need to draw the line in the sand, stop our kids from getting cuts to their budget so we don't close more schools, lose more teachers. The moment calls for me to be here talking to you. Now, however you take this and internalize it and do stuff, hopefully you're going to do something after listening to all of this. If it's one action or 100, I appreciate you listening. I appreciate you taking the time to listen, to be engaged. I think I'm going to hang up right here, 15 minutes short of where I wanted to be, because as you can hear, I've lost it. I still have some, but it's getting harder and harder for me to keep talking. But I want to thank you for your time and attention to this matter. If you have any questions, you can find me at candyappleadvocacy.com, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. Just type in Mallard or Candy Apple Advocacy. Just go over there. If you can't find me, I guarantee you somebody you know can find me. I'm everywhere. To my own detriment. I wish I wasn't everywhere. But this moment calls to be. Okay? I can't do this myself. I told you earlier I need 2,100 people to be intentional about this. That sounds like a lot of people. Because it is. But in the grand scheme of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, it isn't. And I'm not saying I need you every day, all day. But I need you to start building those relationships, having those connections, talking, engaging today. This can't wait. Because this budget will be signed and passed. And if we don't act soon, we'll just get another one of those little cuts. And I don't know how many more we can take. Thank you.